Yo, and welcome to the 18th episode of Lake of Rage, a Pokemon trading card game podcast. I am your host, Kevin Clementi, aka Mellow_Magikarp, and I'm joined today by two very special, very temporary guest hosts. Joining us for the too many times, honestly. Like, let's just say 8th time. Grant, aka Boosie K.
Benry Bless.
And joining us for the first time on, I think, the literal other side of the world, we have Henry Brand, aka Benry TCG.
Thank you for having me, Mellow and Boo.
So today, we're going to get to know our special temporary guest host a little bit better with some of those rapid strike questions. We're, as always, every time Grant is on here, he wants to rant about something he hates. He is just a very, very angry person. So we're going to get into a Grant rant. And then we're going to get to know just a little bit more with Henry on Mewtwo, just all about it. The man has made a living as the expert of Mewtwo and Mew Tag Team GX. So we're going to get into some of that stuff. And then we'll get into some questions from Twitch chat. As always, we're recording this live on twitch.tv/mellow_magikarp.
I'd like to note that I've given Henry a run for the Mewtwo deck building, but
Oh, have you?
yeah, well, we could talk about that later. I gave it a good shot, but I learned from you, so
Of course.
we'll get into it later. But
Oh my gosh.
I tried.
It's actually the one you quote unquote created. It's very fun, but we'll get into that later, like you said. So, Grant, how has your week been?
Pretty good, I guess. Just playing some Pokemon. Not really playing too much of Standard. Trying to learn Legacy.
Ooh.
For our event on Thursday. I'll shout that out. Gamers running it. Legacy packs and stuff involved in pricing. Thursday at 2, I think, Central. So I've been learning that. It's been a lot of fun. And then just playing post-rotation stuff today. Sac 1. So with my Ghost Rider list. So proud of him. He made the invite because of it. And so did Deloc.
Yo, let's go.
So we all got in.
Yo, the squad out here.
Yeah.
And for those of you listening, because always listening at different times, the Legacy event is July 15th. Those Thursday, July 15th. So depending when you're listening to this, it might have already happened. But if it hasn't, free to play. The first place gets some sort of Legacy pack. I don't know. And for those who, why would I want a Legacy pack? Worth a heck of a lot on PTCGO to have an unopened Legacy pack. So you should check it out. And if you need, DM me. I got you on some cheap lists. Don't worry. Cheap and good lists. Henry, how's your week been?
Been good, yeah, it's been good. I've been getting back into Pokemon more recently, so that's been, I guess, the bulk of my time. Starting to stream a bit more, trying to start up coaching again as well. There's not a huge demand for it, but
that's not
hey,
true.
If it's there, it's well, I got to get into the right channels, but I think I had the other night, the first night in a while, where I was like, it gets like 11 p.m. and then I'll start like thinking Pokemon, and then it'll be like 2 a.m. and I'm just like off the rails on some bizarre concept that I know will not work and only make sense at 2 a.m. And the next day I'm like, what was I thinking? But yeah, it's nice to be back on those kind of things.
So anyone listening to this, because some of you have asked me for coaching, which is a terrible decision. Henry, reach out to him. That is another person I didn't know. So you've been streaming. I mean, you've streamed before, but you've been back to it. I love
a little bit more casually.
But like you explain things so well. Like it's really a pleasure to listen to.
I'm glad to hear.
Like so many top players, I don't think they realize what they know that none of us know. And they're just like, yeah, this is the optimal play. And watching, it's like, wait, why? And you do a good job of like explaining like, oh, this plays around this, and this gives me this win condition while avoiding this win condition for my opponent. So anyone who hasn't listened, what is your Twitch?
Yeah.
Benry_TCG.
The thought process of like what card goes here for what reason goes back to Sander last week. You know, there's specific reasons for each card, when you want to find it, how many you need, and all that. Henry does a really good job of explaining that when he's building the deck, and can't simp his stream more than that. I mean, I could.
Thank
I'm not
you
a
very
simp.
much, guys.
I don't simp for anybody. So
That's a lie. What? Bro, I've seen you gift subs to Azul.
No, I've never been called a simp. I've never simped for anybody ever.
He's just a fan, just a dutiful fan.
There you go.
Just yeah.
Although I do have to say, it was. Well, we'll get into this. Well, never mind. I was going to bring up some of the old Mewtwo decks that you built Wall Street. That's future.
We'll get into them. We'll get into them.
So we're going to go ahead and start with these. Oh, wait. No, I want to talk about my week real quick. Because I got called for jury duty. Y'all have jury duty in Australia?
Yeah. Okay. Hey, so we've got a functioning kind of society going on.
I mean,
it's a penal colony.
Not the Wild West or the lawless outback.
We'll get into that too. But I don't know, because not all countries have like this concept of like you get called in for. So I don't know. You gotta ask.
Yeah.
But whatever. Yeah. Someone listening to this is currently yelling at me for not knowing anything about Australia. Well deserved. When you hear the rapid strike questions, you'll know I know nothing about Australia. But I got called in for jury duty. It's virtual. It's sick. I don't gotta go to the courthouse. I have to check my email all day from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. to see if I get an invite to a virtual meeting to potentially get picked to be on a jury. So there I am, sitting on the couch all day from 8 to 4:30, email open. I ain't getting nothing, which that is cool, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I would have actually liked to have done jury duty, but it's like, y'all couldn't have just like called me the day before and been like, nah, bro, we don't need you. Like, we got too many. So that was just a miserably boring day.
last picked. Like, it was. Come on, guys. I'm a good juror. Pick me.
Right. I've always had theories though, like, because it depends what's going on. Like, I'm a teacher. I feel like that's an automatic red flag for certain people because it's like, oh, bro, this dude's soft. We don't want him. We can't have someone with empathy on the jury. We don't want that.
I don't do litigation, but when I was in law school and clerking, I'd get sent to the library to go find jury books to go look at profiles of people and certain things for certain cases. And it was pretty interesting to see. So yeah, it might have just been whatever was on for the day that you didn't even get to the screening part. But jury selection is pretty interesting as far as the American system goes. I don't know how it goes down in Australia.
I don't know the fine details, but I'd imagine it's somewhat the same.
For those who don't know, Grant's real job is some sort of law thingy. I don't know the details. I probably don't want to know the details, like a don't ask, don't tell situation. But
is it?
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I mean, less I know about the law, the better.
Same.
Henry, are you going to school?
Yeah, I am at the moment.
What are you studying?
I'm doing general science, so it's just like a pathway to get into the next degree, and then I'll narrow down what I want to exactly study. But
okay, let's go.
Figure it out. Yeah. I'm thinking either engineering or zoology, both very different kind of avenues. And I think I have to decide what I value more, employability or satisfaction. So we'll get there eventually, but no rush to decide just yet.
I mean, zoology, you can like Steve Irwin it, right?
Yeah, right.
I bad example.
No, you have the that's RIP, bro. You got the personality to like. I could see it.
We'll see.
Zoo engineering, bro. Chat's got it. Okay. Anyway,
that's it.
Let's go ahead and get into those rapid strike questions. Let's get to know Henry a little bit better. So some are Pokemon related, but honestly, most of them are not. So I'm going to give you 60 seconds to answer as many of them as you can. No explanation. Just yes, no, this is my favorite, something like that. The record is 17. We have 3 people tied with it. Most people don't get that far.
All right.
So we'll see how you do. Are you ready?
Never.
Good. Question number 1. Do you ride kangaroos to school?
No.
If you were a gym leader, what type would you specialize in?
Duck.
Checkers or chess?
Chess.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Favorite Pokemon?
Mewtwo.
Last food you ate?
Toast.
Favorite dessert?
Ice cream.
Favorite deck you've ever played?
Teenage Makers.
Fight 1 kangaroo-sized spider or 100 spider-sized kangaroos?
100 spider-sized kangaroos.
Malamar or Greninja?
Greninja.
Winter or summer?
Summer.
Wake up early or stay up late?
Both.
Is Vegemite real food or just a prank?
Real food.
How long past the expiration date would you drink milk?
None. No days.
How many pull-ups can you do in a row?
None. One. One.
Ice cream, cake, or brownies?
Brownies.
Least favorite vegetable?
Carrot.
And that is time. So Benry is tied. Although technically you went a little over on the end, but you did tie. You were the fourth person to hit 17 questions. 75%. Let's go. That's a C.
Some good answers.
That was
There's a lot to talk about.
I am very impressed that you were not phased at all at a variety of the questions. I was really hoping I was going to get you with like the spider kangaroo one or something like that.
I wrote down Vegemite. I knew that you'd have to have a question about Vegemite in there.
Bro, I don't get Vegemite. Like I asked Henry this on stream too, but
yeah, let's get it out of the way. Vegemite is both a prank and real food. Both should have been the answer, but it's fine. There's nothing wrong with Vegemite. People like some people are having a go at me that when I eat like Vegemite on toast, right? Don't get me wrong, it's like an experience. It's a little bit of a trial kind of thing. You're putting yourself on the line. It's good, but I don't put butter with it. And apparently a lot of people do in Australia, and they're like, you need butter. It needs to like reduce the Vegemite. But I don't know. I don't get around it. But it's also just a nice tourist trap. So
people put butter on toast and then put like jelly or jam or
that's a
peanut
crime.
butter itself on it. Like still
a crime. That's delicious.
You do not mix butter with peanut butter. You just put the peanut butter on. It's already got butter in the name. Why do you need more?
But it's not butter.
You Americans and your cholesterol, I tell you.
Yeah.
Hey, we are the #1 country for obesity for a reason. We know how to eat.
And no one's coming close at this rate with your butter and your peanut butter.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck getting us.
So wait, I've heard Vegemite is an acquired taste, and you were kind of alluding to that concept. So for both of you, are foods that are acquired tastes, why would we ever want to acquire that taste? Like, because you hear that all the time with things, right? You're like, oh, you just have to acquire the taste. Then it sucks. Why do I want to torture myself to end up liking this thing eventually? Is it actually worth it ever?
I think so, because I think that they've got like unique flavors to it, but there's usually, the way I look at it is that it's acquired taste because there's good parts to it, but there's usually one overwhelming, not necessarily bad, but like quirky flavor, like something's like super sour or super bitter, things that aren't bad in moderation, but there's just like a lot of it at once. And so I think once you acquire that, it becomes like a bit unique. I don't know. I don't think it's like objectively bad. It's just like you got to adjust to it.
I think it's also like done right. Things that are done well, done right, versus, oh, you've had it this way. You need to try it this way, and it's better. Vegemite might not be the same because it's a spread, but like certain meats and vegetables, like a roasted versus whatever prepared. Trying it the way it's meant to be done, executed properly, is totally different than just doing it yourself or getting it from Arby's. Like Arby's roast beef. People say that sucks. A good roast beef sandwich is awesome. Yeah. Also, Arby's is pretty good. But
what?
That's my point.
That was a terrible take.
Well, yeah, because I do like Arby's, so. But you get what I'm saying, right? Taco Bell. I'll wait till you have a good taco. Well, Taco Bell's pretty good too. Okay, I'm destroying my own argument, crossing this one off the Grant rant.
No, not as I'm not anything. Anytime I have something and I'm like, I don't like this, and someone's like, it's an acquired taste, just power through it and keep going, and you'll like it eventually. It's like, no, why don't I eat something that I like?
Other than like a Vegemite, I can't think of something that's like that. So, maybe anchovies.
I can see that.
Because everything else could be a fish or something, you know.
Well, I was thinking beer is the one that always comes to my mind.
Oh,
I absolutely hate it. And the first time I tried it, and they're like, no, just keep drinking and it gets better. And it's like, I mean, in theory, yes.
I mean, I didn't like beer when I first had it, and now I really like it, so I think it's fine.
No, see, but I'm not a fan of the like, bro, just power through it. It's fine.
I don't know. I think your argument's a bit flawed here. I mean, I was like, think about it like this way. This is my logic for this. I was like the fussiest kid ever, right? I literally wouldn't eat like anything. I didn't eat a vegetable until I was like 15 or something.
You don't like carrots?
Like,
that's.
I don't like raw carrots. Cooked carrots are fine.
Okay.
Just had to
least favorite.
Well, I had to. I probably have more least favorites, but anyway, heat of the moment kind of stuff. Heat of the moment, you got to me. Anyway, I was like the fussiest kid, and now like I'll eat anything. But if I had have thought like, oh well, I don't like it, it must be an acquired taste, I'd be sitting here at like 22 eating chicken nuggets every day.
Wait, are we not all doing that?
What?
Yeah. Who doesn't love chicken nuggets? I don't know. I feel like because like your taste changes as you age, right? Like obviously all kids love chicken nuggets. Most adults love chicken. Or chicken nuggets are good. Terrible example, but like your taste changes. Like mushrooms, like eventually your mushrooms are just good. But that's just because like I feel like you age into liking mushrooms. You don't just shove them into your face till eventually you're like, yeah, I like this.
Who said mushrooms are good?
You not like mushrooms?
No.
Bro, you eat steak. You put mushrooms on the steak.
Why would I add a mushy, slippery thing on top of a hearty hunk of beef?
No, because it adds to the savory. It's umami. It adds to that savory flavor.
I don't need that. I've got meat. Henry's from Australia. They have great cattle down there. I'm from the Midwest. We have great cattle. You don't need to add that. A little salt, a little pepper. Let's cook it. Let's go.
Henry, you're the third party. Mushrooms on steak.
Mm-hmm. I don't eat a terribly huge amount of steak, and the amount that I've had probably less than 5 steaks in my life, and I've never had mushrooms on any of them. Yeah.
Take Henry out to steak dinner.
Okay. There you go. Next Worlds, I guess, would be the next, or whatever event you're at with Grant. He'll take you to steak.
Lovely.
We're gonna do it right.
Bro, steak's delicious. Don't worry, Henry. You will eat more steaks. I believe in you. Unless you go the dark side and become vegetarian, then.
Yeah, look, I'm considering it at this point, but maybe you have to hold off until Grant buys me a steak, and then after that, convert.
I got you. I'll keep you on the light side.
So, Grant, you have some rant. I don't know. All right, everyone listening to this, I apologize in advance, just in case. I don't know what he's going to yell about this time, but
I'm ready for this one.
Yeah, and it might be a part of something Henry said earlier. I'm going to save some of them for 2 weeks. Might do like a rapid strike Grant rant type deal. But the main one, and it goes back to my whole theme that I've had, is that Pokemon doesn't care about you, the player, right? Competitive game, we've seen it before earlier this year when they said coin flips in the game makes it available for a young kid to pick up the cards and compete against the Henry brand. So the balance is there, right? And that's fine.
Glad I've become the scapegoat.
Yeah. Example, just because you're here.
Yeah.
But you brought up the Mismagius, right? Oof. They banned it. They said no, but they reprinted it. Same with Belelba and Bryson, man. And yet we've never seen those cards. Why haven't we seen those cards? Pokemon's gone so far to show that they will sell a product in a box, just to sell a product in a box, and I will prove to you that by the V-Union mechanic. They're only selling your V-Unions in a box, so you have to go buy a box. 3 boxes originally. So you're always going to have to be buying boxes. In the middle of the pandemic, we ran into shortages, so they started printing more supply. That supply, if you haven't checked a booster box recently, the quality has been terrible. No quality assurance. Nobody's looking at these. They're very bad. Miscut, misprint, and mistextured. Yet, they're willing to give you all of that, but not a reprint of a card. My question is it because there's no worlds? Is there no need to... We've seen the shift towards unifying the format with Japan. They're never going to do monthly, but Is it because there's no worlds that there's no urgency to give us cards that are standard legal?
I think like there's an interesting idea there, which is without competitive, why does anyone care? Players Cup kind of exists. Like it is technically there, right?
It's a thing.
Yeah.
That's another Grant rant. They're not even playing it yet. They're playing in an old format. Or they did whenever they show it. Who cares?
Yeah, that's just upsetting. That's a whole different rant that I would fully agree with on you. No one wants to watch that trash. As much as I love that.
I think there's potentially a couple different reasons for like some of the things you brought up. So like the V unions in boxes, you could argue that is actually good because then you don't have to pull each 4 of the V unions. But I do agree they're kind of, at least at this moment, they look a little bit more like a spectacle than anything. Like they don't seem terribly playable just by the inherent mechanic. Like if you prize one, you can't play the game. And so either they're not playable because of that, or like they're very niche, or they print enough support that they are playable, and then they're like horrendously broken because they've forced it way too much. But that's a whole other thing. But then in terms of like the quality assurance, I think is almost like not necessarily a slight against players, but quality assurance is almost a slight against collectors more than anything.
Absolutely.
Which I'm not exactly against personally.
No.
I've got my own whole rant about collectors, but that's another thing. But yeah, I don't know. I think like they just don't really care too much at the moment.
Absolutely not. Yeah, they don't care about you. They care about your money, and they're gonna get it, and they have to print it and get it out there. And if there's new gimmicks like this, like a V Union box or whatever, it's gonna sell. Everything sells off. It was funny when all the runs started going at like Target and Walmart. The only thing left on the shelves was the ADP-zation battle deck. No, that was the only thing people didn't want. The little tins, everything was sold out.
You could still find this too.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Those things haven't left. But I think though, like the collectors are what matters. Like I wish it didn't happen that way as someone who plays and doesn't care about collecting anything but the occasional Gyarados card. But like we're not buying cards. I haven't opened a box for myself. I opened one box in my whole life of cards. Like I don't buy them. I buy the stuff from the collectors where they're like, oh, what am I supposed to do with all these drizzles? Like quarter each. I got you. Like, don't worry about that. So I think in the end, the collectors are the ones that they have to cater to though. Cause we buy from the collectors to get our cards cheap, and the collectors, I don't know what they do. They stare at their cards. Shout out to any collectors. Let me know, post on the YouTube comments. Let me know what you do. Cause
it is got to catch them all, I guess. That is the main thing. But also, why have a competitive trading card game if the competitors aren't enjoying it all the time? Like, we can all agree Vivid Voltage was crap.
The set or the meta? Or both?
Both?
Yeah. We're just such like a microcosm of the actual like card games, like trading card game sphere. Like in terms of Pokemon, like the competitive aspect is such a microcosm that it's like it's difficult to always have our needs met, I guess.
I think Battle Styles showed that, right? Like Battle Styles had some very beautiful chase cards.
Yep.
But it was a competitive set and it didn't sell as well, which seems so stupid to me. Like there were so many people like, there's no chase cards. Like, bro, you've seen that Empoleon? Like that card's beautiful. Like, why isn't that a chase card? So like, you're right. There's not no way, but it's really hard to find that balance between here's a game and here's your Rainbow Rare Charizard or whatever.
Well, we could take that to the next level. Another Grant rant. I was going to save for when I was on with Doom because he's an artist, right? But the Rainbow Rares themselves, we're seeing
I hate those.
We're seeing in the evolution or evolving skies, battle styles, some really cool art. The alt art is really cool, and that's worth chasing. But yet they still print the Rainbow Rares. Why? Stop. Nobody wants it, but now there's 30 more cards in a set or 15 more cards. and they're beefing it up. Nobody wants that. The same with the reverse hollows. And
what?
my
I
thought
love
is,
reverse hollows.
get out of here.
Bro, they're
warp.
shiny.
They're terrible. Oh, get out of here.
I almost only play reverse hollows.
My only thought is that there's a printing process. Like if you print a hollow, you probably have the rest of the cut of a card. So print the reverse hollows.
And the reverse hollow is all the same pattern, right? Like every psychic reverse hollow has the same pattern that they probably just shoved. Yeah. So yeah, it's like it takes no effort.
So that's my only explanation for that. But just throw in, give us back Heart Gold, Soul Silver energy in the reverse hollow spot, or something. Like make it more entertaining. It was fun with the amazing rares. They end up not being playable. They might be in the future, but give us that dynamic at least to opening and collecting cards again.
Quick hatred on the rainbow rares. I was casting the Tabletop's IRL tournament. Shout out anyone in Washington. Tabletop runs an IRL tournament every Friday night at 6 p.m. You should check it out. And I'm casting it every Friday night at 6 p.m. Someone was playing a rainbow rare something. I still don't know what it was. Just like, why is this card it doesn't look good.
They look so
I can't
bad.
tell what it is. Like, why is this here? Like, I hate that.
It's so obnoxious as well. I'm convinced it's like a strategy from some people to like use like rainbow rares only if they're playing multiple. I remember I played against like someone who used to play Pika a lot, would play rainbow Pikas and Raichus, and I swear to God, half the time I'd be like, what is that on your bench? Or like the Dedenne and everything just like blurs together. I'm convinced it's some kind of like...
Was it Kaiwin?
Jungle warfare. Yeah, it was.
You couldn't see it on the world stream. You couldn't see it.
Yeah.
See what he's playing.
Jungle warfare. I'm convinced. But anyway, like it gets so confusing, and I think the cards look objectively terrible, especially nowadays. I thought the tag team rainbows and like the GX rainbows were one thing, but now they look even worse.
Yeah,
they're horrendous.
Because they all shine the same pattern, so it hits the light, you can't even see any detail on it.
Yeah,
I'm never gonna get behind rainbow rares. Alt arts, yeah, I'm never gonna play them. I can't afford that, or I choose not to afford it. One of those.
And they give the artists like more opportunities to actually expand their abilities, and we're seeing how talented they really are. Like besides a small box, we're seeing the full arts look incredible.
I think that's actually a thing as well. If they make the art for non-competitive like chase cards really, really good and make them a huge chase card, but that aren't playable cards, it drives the price of the playable cards down for us, because collectors open things so much and they value, like, let's say there's like a Snorlax or something that's amazing art. What was the one? Tyranitar, but the card's not explicitly playable. All the other ones get driven down as a result because they crack open more cards and things like that, which I think is really good if they can keep doing that rather than make the playable cards super expensive.
And also reprinting the playable cards in the set with the chase stuff. Like I can go to TCG Play right now and buy a Crobat V for $3. Like
so good.
Remember Dedenne was like a $40 or $50 card at one point, because there was that awkward like Dedenne sucks, you just play Tapu Lele. And as people forgot, rotation happens, everyone's like, you need 4 Dedennes, because that's, I don't know how many you played in your worlds list. It was like at least 3, right?
3. Yeah.
You played 3, Tord had 3 or 4, and everyone's like, oh, we need these, and the cost skyrocketed. And it's so nice. They shoved it in Shining Fates. Collectors are like, oh, I got another Crobat. Go get it for $3. It's so nice.
But I mean, we talk about prices now. They're very manageable compared to back. I don't know if you guys, when did you guys start playing? I know Mel, you started like 2016.
Ultra Prism, the Malum, the Cynthia set. Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Grant?
I went to my first IRL stuff after you won Worlds.
Okay.
So yeah.
Well, back in like 2013 or 2014, which is when I started, a new set would come out. I remember Plasma Blast came out, or even like Plasma Freeze, but Plasma Blast came out. If you wanted to build Virizion Genesect, there were 2 different arts, and the cheaper one cost like 35 AUD each, or something like that for Virizion Genesect. And so you're forking out like $250 for like the new deck on release. But even then, the prices didn't go down that much as well, because how else could you get the cards? And the pull rates of the sets back then were so low, you get about 4 EXs a box or something with only 2 arts each, and it's like crazy.
That's like getting Jirachis for Denver regionals. I'd been holding off because I was like, this has to go down eventually, right? And then I'm like, I love Pikarom. I have to play this deck. $25 a piece. And I was like, the whole rest of the deck was incredibly cheap, but $100 for the playset of Jirachi's like, all right, I guess I'm buying a plane ticket. I may as well just drop this money. But that was the last big like thing I've ever purchased. And otherwise, cards have been pretty cheap.
Yeah.
And I've noticed, I mean, Shadow Rider was pretty expensive upon release, but I guess that's a whole other thing. VMAXs have 2 ultra rares. So to play a 4/4 VMAX line, you're playing 8 ultra rares. To play a 4/4 Zoroark line, you're playing 4 ultra rares. It's a pretty massive difference. Not to mention a regular art versus essentially you're playing a full art VMAX. So you're playing 4 regular arts plus 4 full arts to play a 4/4 VMAX line instead of 4 common and 4 regular art ultra rares. The pretty massive difference there.
Pretty big. Not to mention the gameplay difference as well, but even just from a monetary thing, it's pretty big.
Do you not like VMAXs?
Might be a bit of a controversial opinion, you know.
They're so big though. The HP number is so giant.
Big number, more fun.
Yeah.
That's why Browns are fun, right? Oh, that's why Incineroar GX is fun. Hitting 1,000 damage. You can't tell me that's not fun.
It's pretty fun. I don't know. For Incineroar, for me, it's like you get to a point and the damage doesn't matter. You just reached a threshold and you're like, yep, that does enough.
Yep. I've never actually calculated. You just know, like,
you just know.
You hit me hard. All right, this OHKOs you.
And Incineroar itself's pretty beefy. 250, right?
Oh, is it?
Pretty good.
250? Yeah. That's more than the Pikarom.
Yeah, but stage 2?
Yep.
Well, you can bump that out with Dark Union. Who also has 250, right?
Yeah, Zora Ninja's 250. God, so
we need V Union cards that have more HP so we don't run into this problem again, where Pikarom and Greninja Zoroark are less than a GX or even some basic Vs now. Manage the power creep, Pokemon.
Yeah, look, I'm honestly not against power, like number creep. I think number creep's fine. And sometimes I have to do it to fix things. So that's not a huge issue, but the price creep is the problem.
Yeah, so I played 2010 recently. And look, I picked up Gyarados. I know people are going to say, if you want to enjoy 2010, play a real deck. Gyarados is my favorite Pokemon. It does 90 damage every turn. The difference between doing 90 damage every turn and doing 200 damage every turn is irrelevant if it takes the same amount of hits, right? Gyarados essentially 1-shot squishy stuff, 2-shot level X's and things like that. Cool. Whether that's 90 or 200 or 500 really doesn't matter. But it's a matter of, like you said, if I'm 2-shotting a 3-prizer versus 2-shotting a 1-prizer, that's a very different amount of turns to actually play the game and actually design a deck and manage your resources and, you know, anything like that. Because right now you need 2 attackers. I don't need Ordinary Rod because I play a 4/4 line. Research, I don't care about the rest. All I need is 2. We're good to go.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and it strangles deck building and stuff.
Well, it's fallen into that sort of need 2 attacks to KO. We're joking about it before. The single strike stuff is the only thing that really, other than weakness, can KO easy every time if you have it. You know, Eternatus is capped at 270. Even Grimmsnarls, I think, is capped at 270. Like they're the only, you know, there's only a few that that have unlimited damage, but
Shadow Rider can hit pretty darn hard. It's actually pretty aggressive.
Yeah. Well, the cake is actually the harder hitter.
You guys should see, I've got a sticky note on my desktop whenever I stream that I put in the corner of the screen that says, "Be positive, don't complain." About these, because I just can go off on a bit of a tangent. But Shadow Rider feels a little bit oppressive. I mean, obviously the card's inherently broken, right? There's absolutely no argument that can say otherwise. It's insane. But I think it's a little bit uncomfortable that it just kind of puts you on a clock. And then after a few turns, you just kind of can't do anything. You have like no strategic recourse, really.
I tried playing Sandaconda today. Look, I know Sandaconda sucks. That's not the argument. But the fact is, it doesn't matter that I attack for 1 energy and can Cheryl, because they can hit through the stone energy too. They can hit 340 by turn 3. It's like, well, okay. Sick.
Have you tried energy denial? May I introduce you to crushing hammer?
Now we're talking.
I'm sorry, Henry. I'm so sorry.
Henry, how does it feel to be from the country that plays so much peak ROM with hammers? Have you ever tried to talk your fellow country mates out of their peak ROM session?
I mean, I don't know. Look, a lot of the time I'll say, look, don't do this. Don't do it. You know, think of the children. And then they'll say, okay, give me an alternative. And I'd be like, nah. Because I haven't played like much throughout those formats, and I only started again recently. And I'm just like, you know what? Do your thing, you know? And you kind of understand where they're coming from, at least with Pikarom. It's kind of like it was a necessary evil, I guess. And I mean,
to an extent.
Yeah, I mean, I hate it, but like, it's a shame because at least with Hammer, and especially at those times, and in Pikarom, it was statistically correct. Like, they were statistically good, I guess. And even though that's something I would never play and don't agree with, you can't deny that. And so you can't, you know, if you're playing Players Cup, and also like if you don't think the format's good, you also have like less respect for it. And so it's kind of, that's how you can get to the point where you're like, you know what, this game sucks, I'm just going to play the coin flip cards anyway. So you can kind of respect it.
The two main decks that it countered were so important, right? Eternus, if you could buy a turn, and ADP to buy a turn, keep them from GXing. And then also, I think for you, maybe the issue was you were playing the deck attach an Aurora, attach the second turn.
Yes.
And so if you lose it, the whole strategy, now you got to rethink it, you know?
Well, it was really frustrating because I really liked the manual attachment decks, because I think the best part about Pokemon and any card game really is restrictions, like having limitations on what you can do in your turn, like chess, you know, you make one move and things like that. And all these things come from limitations, or else it's solitaire. And that's how, you know, you have your limitations and your opponent has your limitations, and trying to piece out the puzzle in which you beat them and, you know, play around theirs. That's like where the fun comes from. And that's why I never had too much of an issue with things like Malamar and something, because you see exactly what they can do on their turn. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's not always
like
that. But
twice, so I can play around.
Yeah, and so exactly. So with Crushing Hammer, it's weird because it ruined those kind of like slow, you know, methodically thought out decks, which I really liked, like the Mewtwo decks. You had to build so precisely to actually have them be competitive, those rainbow versions, and you had to find the exact right strategies. And if you lost that energy at any time, you just lost. So that ruined that. But at the same time, the game was so linear in terms of Eternatus and ADP. The Crushing Hammer actually was the only card that, like, losing energy or missing cards made the games interesting and strategic, which is weird because it's on a coin flip, and I absolutely hate it. But, like, Pokemon recently has only been, like, interesting games and strategic when players are both not drawing too well, and then how you kind of pull yourself out of that situation. And so Crushing Hammer kind of caused that, but not in a great way.
Or if you can get 4 pieces of a card into your discard.
And then you
and have a bench
special
spot.
special summonization.
There's no chance V Union's good. I refuse to believe those cards as of right now.
They can't be.
Yeah, they need a lot to be good, I think.
I think we cracked Greninja and expanded, but that's it so far.
Sure. Actually, what does Greninja even do? Do I want to know?
And expanded, I can see him.
Well, it's like they all need. The problem is they all need energy acceleration still.
Dark Pad, right? Or is Greninja water?
Greninja's water,
Aqua
but
Patch.
it only needs like
yeah.
I think Aqua Patch and you only need like 2, I think. But like the Zacian, it like does like 300 or something. Like okay, Zacian Amazing Rare does 300 if you have VMAX in play.
Yeah.
Like it's already out there. Why do we need this colossal beast? And it's like 4 energy.
It's big.
Well, add a Bronzong. No one wants to play Bronzong.
No, have you not played Stefan's expanded Bronzong Metal Box? It's quite fun. I highly suggest it. It's
I'm writing this down.
Yeah, it's worth messing around with. I've had to play a suboptimal build because I don't own Duraludon V, because why would you own Duraludon V? But
Locke told us to buy them.
He did, and I'm getting them now. But it's Timeless GX is a very fun attack. I really like it. So yes, Bronzong's good. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Timeless GX mostly on it. That's the only reason to play the deck. You can just make some ridiculous plays between that and Full Metal Wall, so you never actually get knocked out. And Duraludon can hit really hard, which seems really stupid. Anyway, Expanded's not a real format.
No, it's weird.
If we don't play it in Australia, it's not a real format.
Yeah, if you don't play it anywhere other than US, well, that makes it a real format then.
Exactly.
Because we play it here.
I do hate that though. Like it makes it easy as a US player because like there's so few expanded tournaments. It's so easy to metagame for. Like I've never had an issue I only play Zorogarb in expanded, or used to. It's just so easy to be like, everyone's gonna play these decks, so just put these techs in, and then yeah. If the rest of the world played it though, I think expanded would be
broken.
Interesting. Yeah, just look at what Sander does to it every time there's a Limitless tournament. It's gross. Do not recommend it. Okay. So we got a little bit into Mewtwo in there. Grant, do you want to bring up your Mewtwo deck and talk about why it's better than every one that Henry has ever made?
All right, let's hear it.
It's not. It's definitely not. But it did. It made a late charge to be a top deck the last format. Played as Robin was on 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
He played it to qualify for Players Cup. Tord played it as well. Stefan has seen success with it, but it's Relish, which is the grass version of Mewtwo. And when building it, I took a lot of the things I learned from watching Henry build his Mewtwo decks. Like each card needs to have a purpose. And at the time, the two big decks in the format, besides ADP obviously, were Eternatus and Pikarom. So the whole engine, right, is to get Capture Energy or get a Grookey and Super Growth. And then you can accelerate energy. So you're good to go. But you don't want to start anything bad. So I try to keep everything to stage 1 or 2. So Vileplume,
Dragonite,
the Incineroar. Well, and then the final piece of it was the Dragonite to be able to Oko, Pikarom, or Raichu. You know, that was the big piece for Dragonite. Incineroar was there just to hit back on Eternatus, take a hit him back. Big charms, all of that. But the deck building skills I learned were from watching Henry pick each card so methodically, like the Raticate GX. Like, well, we don't need an energy. We can.
I'll tell that story. Yeah.
It was, just seeing that stuff. I would never have learned any of that sort of thought process if it wasn't for watching Henry. And at the time, I think you were streaming much earlier for our times here in the US.
Yeah, I tend to alternate between like now and then like night my time. So I either try and hit like morning for you guys or night. So
the other thing which picked up steam late on was everyone playing Marnie. I don't like Marnie as a card, especially playing a lot of the post rotation. It just ruins it right away. You know, it's like Marshadow, right? Is that it? Yeah. Like let loose or whatever. And all right, well, the game's over now. That's so fun. I'm glad we played. I'd like to see either Cynthia or N. I think would be a fair replacement for it, or both.
I think Cynthia would be good.
Cynthia's a fair card. It's on your own side for shuffle and 6.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very fair card. Even late in the game, like you can't play it to, deck yourself out unless you need something. Same as a research.
I think one important thing, I know this is like a side tangent, but a lot of people are like, well, Cynthia's worse because Marnie draws you 5 new cards. But Marnie instinctively helps those big basic decks or VMAX decks, versus Cynthia can actually keep a stage 2 deck or a more setup based deck alive. Because sometimes you have in your hand, you're like, I've got cards that I want to redraw because I want this combo piece of Rare Candy Blastoise or whatever it is. So I wish we had Cynthia because it actually helps these decks that Marnie actively hurts, both because it disrupts you, but also drawing 5 new cards doesn't help you when you want the cards in your hand plus new cards. So I'm a big fan of Cynthia for that reason.
Yeah, there's a couple of things with Marnie. I mean, I don't like the whole like cards to the bottom mechanic. I think it just feels so bizarre in a lot of scenarios, but it seems like that's what they like at the moment. Like a lot of new cards, they don't shuffle your opponent's hand at all. It's all put it to the bottom. But the thing with Marnie as well is that, first off, I don't think it's good design to have a card that's strictly better for one player than the other at all times when it affects both.
Mm-hmm.
Like N, it was conditionally better for each player based on controllable game state and things like that. It was obviously a comeback card. But Marnie, even though you have a higher chance of drawing into one card when you need it, you get less cards total, so you lose card advantage. Like you don't get 6. So the amount of things that you can do is restricted, and it makes kind of a shorter game. And it encourages to dig more, like Dedenne, Crobat, things like that, when you begin with a lower amount of cards than Cynthia does. So.
Yeah, I agree, 100%.
Yeah.
Well, and that's
back to Grant's thing.
Yeah.
Well, that was sort of like the thought process on it was, okay, energy, if you get logged with energy, Marnie's never good for you. And if you're playing tag call, you have searchable. Once you get set up, you're good to go. And half the time they play Marnie for you. Or I think my math at the time was like 33% of the time. Like early on, because then it doesn't matter, right? Once you're set up, you're good to go.
I can't be the only one here who has made a greedy play saying, my opponent's definitely going to Marnie me next turn.
Right.
I've definitely done it. And I never get punished for it either. Like you can just read when your opponent's going to Marnie you and you're just like, I'm going to play into a dead hand. I think I can do it. It's so stupid.
But I was anti-Marnie, and like Panich reached out and we're talking through supporters. I played I told Robin this story. Philip played Erica's Hospitality, and he said if I could just draw 4 cards. I was thinking, okay, well, the trainer thing, I can draw 4 if I have a tag team in the active. Like I usually have a tag team in the active, but Erica's could be pretty good because he turns super popular. And so I threw Erica's in there a couple times and did well with it. And then
I played Erica's at Players Cup 4.
Yeah. It's a good card.
I don't know about you guys. I think I was the first person to ever play Erica's. I top 8'd an IC with Erica's.
Wait, which deck?
In Zoroark.
People were
hate. Yeah, so the logic was people were absolutely hating on me for it, but it was good against pretty much every matchup. Like reasonable against some. It was bad against a few, but it's good in mirror and in general. But the thing with Zoroark, right, is that you build your hand, and there wasn't much hand disruption in the format, and so you just want to start to getting the big hand sizes. And so if you get Erica's early, rather than, because I was playing Elm at the time, so rather than Cynthia where you like shuffle draw 6, if you get Erica's and you go from like 5 to 9 or like 4 to 8 or something like that, then suddenly you like start much quicker with the big hand, and they can't disrupt you because either they've already played Let Loose or you've got Muck or something like that. And so it was actually good, and to have a like different supporter to search off Lele as well. People disagreed with it intently, but it was good at the time.
R.I.P. Lele.
It looks like it looks like a 1-up, so it's And part of the other thing,
supporters were
very
good.
To Lele,
Now they
and you could but every card in there also, the other thought process was every card is playable. Or should be unless you have energy. So, and we played 2 rods back then, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had to, dump your hand or whatever, you were all right with that. And I'm looking at this list, you had a stretcher. I guess only 1 rainbow.
Oh, is it the rainbow with Acerola so nothing can get boss stalled? Or Guzma stalled? Yeah. I won a game because someone cut that, and they made the mistake of telling me that they cut it. It's like, oh, I'm playing this person's list, except I cut the rainbow energy, and I'm like, yeah, you did.
that was
Who's that person?
Dude, the Rainbow Ace Roller technology was insane. You could do like some really dumb stuff. Like I used to one time I think I Rainbow Ace Rolled my muck off the field. And then so that you remove the muck and then use Distortion Door from Giratina. And one time I used Distortion Door twice because I went Distortion Door, Rainbow Ace Roller, traded away. Distortion Door, there's like because you played Twilight Eyes Lycanroc, you could Rainbow Ace Roller and run them out of energy against like Celosaur and stuff. It was the golden days.
That was a format where I don't think tag teams ruined the format.
Yeah, they were fine,
right? Because they weren't that good, and Zoroark.
I mean, Pikarom was objectively BDIF. There was absolutely no other way to cut it.
I don't see an issue there. What's the problem? I love because I played Gustavo and the Brazilian Pikarom list that was like 3 Zapdos also, so you could just be like, it wasn't just like I'm gonna beat your face in with full blitz. It was like
no, it was very skillful. Yeah,
it was, and I'm not saying I was that great at it, but it was very fun to like game 1. My opponent didn't know I was playing Pikarom until like they had already passed their Sledgehammer turn. And they were like, oh, I just thought this was Zapdos Jolteon. It's like, sucker.
Yeah.
All right, anyway. Keep going on your
messy power. I mean, that's pretty much it. Then as the meta evolved, it became Pikarom came back in form as the BDIF, and so we put Aroma in there. And Aroma not only prevents paralysis, but blocks it, and it's searchable grass.
Pretty good.
So pretty good when you need grass energy, primarily in the deck. But also then, and no one ever got to this point, and it's still out there, and I don't think it's a good deck anymore, which sucks to see. And I can ask you about that in a minute, how it feels when your deck's just not like something you made that's so precious to you. It's dead,
Yeah.
But I think the Aurora build, now that you have Galarian Zapdos, is pretty good to plug in and block Eternatus. But that just the HP and even Big Charm doesn't really keep you alive that long. Maybe there's some wiggle room to make the deck work, but it's probably dead. But yeah, I would like to hear how you deal with watching something that you spent so much time on when it runs out.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I guess you just cope. I mean, the way I look at it is like you got a new set of problems to solve, right? They're not always solvable, often than not. But I don't know. I think it's okay. What's actually interesting is that one of the Mewtwo decks, the Ultimate Mewtwo, so the Soul Burst Solgaleo deck,
that was fun.
So that's a whole thing we'll get into. But the thing with that was that COVID happened right after I won the regionals with it. Right after.
Yeah.
And the problem with the deck was that it was actually pretty fragile because it was one of those decks where you have extremely specific game plans. And I actually didn't enjoy playing it that much because the fun part was building it, but it was really conditional on knowing what cards people were playing in decks. Like if people played a Zigzagoon or a Vitality Band, then suddenly ADP wasn't that good of a matchup anymore. It was still fine, but going second, it wasn't as good. And all these little things, or if the meta changes, then it's suddenly not as good, and it's super fragile. And so I think it definitely wouldn't have been as playable after that regionals. It was definitely a one deck thing, but I didn't really have to watch it die off too much, fortunately. But yeah, I don't know. I guess
that deck did come back when Dragon Ball was good, and you just added a Zoro Ninja or a Sabltar and Soul Burst to that.
Yeah,
that was fun.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't quite as nice afterwards, but yeah.
Didn't feel as powerful because I never played the original version, especially when no one knew what it was.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll tell the whole story about that if you want.
Yes.
That Mewtwo deck.
Yes.
All right. Well, I won't go into every single detail because when I did it with the Sableyes, I think it was a 2-hour video. But So basically,
shout out real quick. Shout out to the Stabilized YouTube channel. You can go check out that interview if you want more Benry. I really enjoy their stuff. So okay, there you go.
Yeah. So where the deck start? So I think the deck started that Aurora Energy came out. So Aurora Energy came out in Sword and Shield, and because of that, we had much more Rainbow Energy. Because previously we only had the 4 Rainbow and some other stuff, and that was kind of it. And we also had Research now, and we had Quick Ball, and so suddenly like a ton of consistency. Aurora is naturally good for Mewtwo, and then I think there was a Japanese deck that played Soul Burst, and then it played Quagsire as well. And so it tried to do like some Quagsire nonsense and move the energy around and all that. I think it played like Blastoise Piplup, or it did some stuff. Anyway, but that deck was like junk. It was so clunky and it was like a nightmare. And so my usual testing group, which is Stefan, Bert, and Joao. Joao didn't make it to OCIC. It's not bad. Joao didn't make it to OCIC, and so it was just me, Bert, Stefan, and then the people they were staying with, and it was a bit of a more open group and less intense, I guess. But basically, we started testing that Quagsire deck a little bit with Stefan. He like really liked the concept of Quagsire. He likes his Quagsire, his stage 1s. I swore I'd never play a Quagsire deck in my life.
No Nagquag?
No Nagquag. No. We don't do that here.
Missed out.
I like how you slipped in Nagquag over Quagnag for chat.
It's the only correct way to say it.
Right. I'm glad you...
Nagquag. But yeah, and so I was like, surely there's a better way to build this. I was like, surely we don't need Quagsire. And then I thought, okay, well, Soul Burst is good. If you go second, you can turn 1 Soul Burst. What if I tried like playing ADP as well, so that you have a good game plan going first and going second? So if you go first, you can alter creation. It's pretty strong from there. Going second, you Soul Burst. And so I tried to get that going. There was like a lot of problems. ADP was pretty strong. You know, I couldn't get it to beat certain things. And seriously, it was like a eureka moment throughout the course of this weekend. No one was on board with testing this with me. And so I was basically like on my own trying to like figure this out. And I was like, this is way too cool to not play. Like, there's no way. Like, I have to play this. Like, regardless of how good it is, there's just absolutely no chance that I can't play this. Because like, it had all this junk and it had like what? Flygon, and you know, you have to play a Flygon. Anyway, you can't not play Flygon.
Well, you played 3 Swell. You played 3 Swell, right?
Yeah.
So like you'd have a stadium there, right?
Well, theoretically, it's anti-synergetic because if you put down a Swell, then they bump it. There's no stadium in play, but it's fine. It works.
But you have 3. You have another one.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, you got 3. You only need to use it once. But some of the moments for that deck were wild because I was like trying to puzzle everything out and figure out how to beat things, and it just kind of, I was looking through bulk because previously the way I would beat ADP was I would go Zigzagoon, Alter Creation, Flygon Knockout, right? And like 280 and then KO something afterwards. But it didn't always work because what if they knocked you out back? And then what if like they had Big Charm? Like if you had Big Charm, you just couldn't win. You're just like done. And so it was really conditional on what cards people were going to play. But then I was looking through someone's bulk like 2 days before, I think, like legit no more than 2 days before, and they had a Xerneas Prism in their bulk, and I just had like this eureka moment, and I was just like, what is this card? Like, this is perfect. Then I couldn't beat Pikarom because I couldn't one-shot their Raichu, I think it was, and I didn't want to play Marshall and Machamp because it was like kind of not that good, and it didn't work either, like a lot of the time. And so I had a proxy for Greninja GX at the time. The proxy I had was Blastoise GX, and I looked at the card, and I was like, this fixes it. Now we need a new spot for Greninja. It's crazy. So and then how the Eradicate thing came about. So I was thinking of ways to beat Control, and I was looking through all the, not Control, Mill, and I was looking through all the cards, and I was like, once you alter creation, they can kind of just hammer and you lose. And so I found Eradicate, and I was like, this is perfect. And then I found Venusaur Snivy as well that I was looking at, and all like the pieces of the puzzle just kind of came together. And I was like, wait a minute. I can Xerneas, they knock me out, and then I can use Venusaur's ability and then attack with Eradicate anyway because it has no energy, and I get to gust things. Like that's how you beat ADP, and then it also beat Mill, and then Blastoise. I was like, wait, hold on, Blastoise the energy's not wasted on the Venusaur Snivy. And so suddenly, like, everything just kind of came together. It was like serendipitous, but just kind of all worked. And then I choked OCIC. I got like so like tired and like brain lagged by the 9th round that I Aurora Energied, and I had to all I had to do was discard Solgaleo. So I discarded the Solgaleo so I could Soul Burst. I was against Pikarom, and then like I go to Soul Burst and I look at my discard pile, and I've somehow like discarded a random card from my hand that wasn't Solgaleo. And I was just like, "Are you kidding me? What is going? Like, did someone come and swap this while I wasn't playing?" Anyway, so I bubbled and came like top 128. I think I got Zapdos Triple E Power donked on stream as well.
Oh no!
Yeah, hate to see or love to see.
But yeah. So and that's how the name for Ultimate Mewtwo came around as well, because people were like asking for my list because they'd seen it on stream, and I was like, I could kind of get people here. Like, if I call it Ultimate Mewtwo, I'm gonna have people PMing me asking for the Ultimate Mewtwo deck list, which is kind of like a gotcha. And it happened. It happened. I had people like say, "Hey, can I have the Ultimate Mewtwo deck list?" And I was like, "This is funny. Like, this is too funny." But anyway, and then I kept it secret till regionals, and I played ADP every single round at that regionals, except for Blounds, and I went like 16-2 against ADP or something. Yeah,
and that feels like the type of deck that is like every single card is picked out for specific matchups, but the meta was so narrow in that format. Like ADP, Mill, sometimes Blounds, sometimes Firebox, and you're just
Mewtwo
like,
Malamar a little bit as well.
Oh, that's right. I love that deck, but you're like, I've got answers to every single one of these things, and it just feels so perfect because it's so hard when a meta's giant, right? To be like, how do I beat 8 different decks versus got to counter 3 things, and you just laid out perfectly how you counter those 3 things and how you thought of it.
And it was super satisfying, like the precise game plans. As I was saying, like if you miss a beat, you lose. You actually just lose like every single time. But so you have to make it really consistent. But when you Soul Burst, you planned your entire game out from the first turn, because you're limited. That's your energy acceleration. You're done, and so everything has to go to the right spots. Like it has to, everything's got to go in the right position. And it was satisfying to play, but also a little bit boring because there's no reaction. Like from that point, you've set your game plan. If you miss, you lose. You can't default to something else. You can't try and play your way out of it. There's no comeback mechanics. It's like you win or you lose. So the good part was building the deck. But obviously it's satisfying to see it come to fruition as well. I played against a Japanese player, and I benched the Xerneas and switched into it off of the Mewtwo, and he goes like just like absolute shock, and I think goes like Nani Xerneas or something, like just like raised the card, and I was like, yeah. And I played against Gustavo as well at OCIC, and every time I'd discard a hand, he'd like just like be like, "Can I look at your discard pile and see what you've just put in there?"
It's like, I need to know what all these cards are.
He'd chain up the glasses and take a look.
Yeah, he just out of confusion at what's going on. And apparently as well, he didn't know it was me because he hadn't looked at the slip, and he didn't know what I looked like, the match slip, and so it wasn't until after that he realized. But
Gustavo's not that vain. No.
Well, that's what Joao told me. But yeah, it was good fun. And the thing with the deck as well was that because you could kind of play anything, it felt like you could fix any problem, and that even if something arose, like if someone started playing a card in a certain deck, it felt like you could adapt to that. But yeah, and it was cool to play as well. Just like I've played against a lot of people at that regionals, and it was kind of like a good and a bad thing. It was satisfying in the fact that I built this deck, and that was the accomplishment. But I played against people, and they're like playing ADP, like good players, and they're just like, I lose. Like they just knew they were playing against. Like, I can't win.
Bro, the thing about ADP that everyone loves, you don't even got to play the game. Just turn 2, like, I already won.
Yeah.
So how do you go about it when, like, if you have a deck that's what the game plan's set in front of you, and you have to go down these certain avenues? What do you do when it's when it's distorted and you can't really find your way out of it? I mean, I think Vileplume's pretty good, at least, or Reshiram Outrage. But like,
yeah,
what do you do if the Xerneas is prized?
The Xerneas being prized isn't the worst. There was like a lot of backup game plans. Like as I said, you can Zigzagoon and then Flygon if they don't play Big Charm, so that's pretty good. So you had kind of two options. If not, I guess you like try and go around it and unprize the Xerneas. But also, if prizing the Xerneas is the only problem, right, and you prize it in one game, and the matchup's like 90-10 in every other game that you don't prize it, then you're gonna win the next two anyway. So it's not the end of the world, I guess.
Yeah, because there's about a 10%
but that was
chance of prizing, and you're like,
But
well, if you're winning 90% of the games, 90-10, like that's, we'll all take that. Yeah.
And best of 3.
It was really funny as well because that was like a very funny OCIC, but I had to like keep it under wraps. It was sad that no one joined me with it because it was such a cool deck, but no one believed in it at the time, and because it was pretty unrefined, like it wasn't that good until about like the day before OCIC. And I guess it was a little bit time crunch for people, but with the Limitless people, I think Fabian bet to Tord that he goes, Hendrik's playing a Flygon in his deck, and Tord goes, no way, and Fabian goes, yeah, I bet you that he is. If he is, like, you know, you buy me dinner, and Tord comes up to me and is like, are you playing a Flygon in your deck? There's no way, right? Fabian's lost his mind. And I was like, yeah, I am. And I was just like, and I'm the worst at tournaments, especially with that deck, and just in general. Like, I know I should not tell people what's in my deck from a strategic standpoint, but I'm just like, this is so cool. Like, I'm so like, you know, this is awesome. Like, I just want to like tell everyone about it. Like, you come look at this, but I know I can't, and it's like, I got to keep the surprise factor. But it was cool. But I don't know. Like when you get behind with the deck, you just lose, and so that was the sad part. So there wasn't too much skill around it. Like I think there actually was, because it's a hard deck to play because you have to know the game plans. But from my like point where I built the deck, I know exactly how it works. I know exactly how every turn should go. It got pretty monotonous. But I can see how, like, for someone who didn't build the deck, it can be a little bit more difficult to think at the start until you get the hang of it.
I think it was good, like, watching your stream, like, when you see it then, like, to see you explain it. And the same with, I think Xander, after he won the Open after Worlds with the Checkmate deck.
Mm.
And he had a nice long write-up about it. And I read it all. And then I faced it at League. And I was like, I actually know. You know, like, being back new into the game, like, I actually know what's going on here versus... you know, reading cards and seeing and not knowing what could potentially happen, and that just goes to information. Like, so you said you found the Xerneas in the bowl.
Yeah.
How well do you know all of the cards? Like when you're building these decks, do you know what you're looking for? Like, I need a card that beats this in this scenario.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, it's easy for Mewtwo because you can go to the TCG OGX section and just like scroll through. I've spent years in that section, I think. But
yeah, for anyone listening, I've watched Henry on stream many times literally do this and look at every single GX card. So it is actually what he does.
It's the worst on stream, and I you know, obviously it's good, but I go to the GX section and then have everyone in chat saying this could be good, but like with no, or this is really good, play this, but with like no, and this is what I try and like teach and impart onto people, but there's no like proper reason for why. It's kind of like, this could be good, like, yeah, that's a good attack, but in what scenarios, like, what is it fixing, what is it doing? Because the game's I guess short enough, I guess short's the way that you can plan out your game plans before the games even start, and so you don't want something that's generally good, you want something specifically good, that has specific uses rather than, like, you know, a good attack. Like, you know, Night Spear was a good attack, but nowadays you're not going to play Night Spear unless it's doing something deliberate with the maths, or, you know, just as an example. But in terms of finding other cards, I don't know, the way you look at it is you try and find a specific problem. So usually the way I go around things is you get a base concept. So Welder, Mewtwo, the thing I'm working on at the moment, which I don't know if this is that good, but like Moltres Mewtwo. So it's like, I've played a little bit on stream. It's got like Moltres, Energy Switch and all that. And I'm just trying to make it like work first, and so I think the way you do it is you make it work, and then you go, okay. So I kind of have like a 3-step thing. So you get a base concept, so Soul Glacier Mewtwo, Welder Mewtwo, whatever. Then you make it work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you make sure that you execute a game plan and like you do your thing. So Welder Mewtwo, you welder turn 1. Make sure you welder turn 1 or everything. You get it working, and then you make it beat things. And even if that means sacrificing making it work, so you add enough stuff that you can beat things, or you figure out how to. And then afterwards, you then make it work again, whilst keeping the cards that beat it. That's the kind of the process I go through, and you find the exact reasons why you're losing a certain matchup or what cards like a week, and then you try and find it. So with the Welder Mewtwo deck at Worlds, we were losing to. I mean, it was a little bit different then, but like Giratina Malamar was a bad matchup. Then what else? Green Zard was always pretty decent, but I wasn't comfortable if they played Big Charm. I felt like there was a bit of a problem if you played Dragonite, and so what we were looking for was something that hit like pretty good damage for. So Blaziken hit 210 for 3, I think. Blaziken GX, I think that's that. Dragonite hit 270 for 5, which is good one shot. But then Magcargo hit
a lot. It
was more energy intensive, but hit all of the numbers. So it hit 10 less than Blaziken for 3. It hit more than Dragonite for 5, but lost all the energy. But that fixed it. Like the Magcargo fixed it because it did both the cards did and more. Like it got around Big Charm and it was much better. And also it could for 4 energy like one shot Pikarom. And so also and then the Giratina thing was fixed by Espeon Deoxys, like the Malamar matchup. But like typically you try and find a base concept and then just make sure it works first and foremost, and then kind of backtrack later on.
The Magcargo in there was just so genius because I had tested my own version of Welder Mewtwo for that Worlds. No Magcargo was a big difference maker versus when I played your deck after, and it was like I just can't lose a lot of games because you just like have game on board at a certain point where you're just like I OCO everything. Yeah, it was so good. I didn't even know that card existed until I saw it in your list. And I was like, oh, this is nice.
It was good. So with Welder Mewtwo, I think so. As I was saying about like making it work, a lot of other people, no one knew how to build the deck, and everyone just played like Gear or they played Acrobike, and our list played both. And that was Joao's idea. So he started with that and was like, what if we just play this? We had Coach Trainer, and so Joao had like the base, and then I had more of the input on like the Espeon Deoxys and the Magcargo. But then also I think like I liked Bills because we were trying to find what the right supporter was, because we didn't want to play like a draw supporter, and like Coach Trainer was really average, but we wanted to dig more specifically, and it was kind of like, what's the best card to, if we don't welder this turn, to make sure we welder next turn. And it was kind of like you could play Hapu, but it was bad with Custom Catcher, and so we're like, Bills is pretty good, and then it worked. But Joao like definitely did most of the like his idea for the Acrobike and Gear. He came to us with the start of the list with like that, and then we worked on it from there. And the World's list was technically one card incorrect. Like Energy Recycle System was better, and it was like literally 8 a.m. the morning of the thing, and I'm just like, do we play Crystal or ERS? Like I don't know what's going on. And then I give my phone to Joao, and I'm just like, submit something for me. You make the decision. So.
I wanted to ask you that earlier. I was looking at the, your past results, and then the next week, or 2 weeks maybe, there was an event, and you changed that up from the crystal and the recycle system.
So ERS was just like way, way better because it always has value, whereas crystal's like super niche. But and I think
won Worlds with Mewtwo, would you be building as much Mewtwo as you do?
I mean, I like to think so.
Okay.
I like to think so.
I wasn't sure if it's like a love of the card or love of like I did really well with this. Let's keep breaking it.
No. I mean, because it's a completely different deck now, right? Like,
Significantly,
it's changed over the time. So
Well,
I mean, if you look at if you're looking at the tournament results, right? So if you're looking on Limitless,
I'm looking at them. Yeah,
you'll let me get it up real quick, and then I can look at it with you. But you'll notice something, right? You'll notice something before Mewtwo, there was a prevalence of a different deck.
yes.
Do you see the prevalence of the different deck?
I sure do.
I'm being held in suspense because I don't have it open.
Oh,
you don't know?
Please tell me it's
what's your
Greninja.
guess? No.
Darn.
What do you think the most played deck before it was?
Oh, you've been playing for a while. Like I'd want to
This
say
goes
Zoro
back-
Rock because everyone plays it, but is that too new?
It is Zoro Things. So
Zoro Things. Okay.
Zoro Rock. Yeah, Zoro Rock. Yeah, so I pretty much played exclusively Zoroark. So you look at Limitless, there's Zoroark, and then a bit of a diversion Buzzrock because I wasn't playing at the time and I borrowed a deck. And then there's Zoro Persian, well, Zoro Dugong, and then Zoro Dugong again. And then now it's all Mewtwo afterwards. And so I think they're actually kind of similar. Yeah. And I actually said this in the interview after Swiss round that I played on stream at Worlds. They said, what do you like about Mewtwo? And I was saying, I've played Zoroark all season, and with Zoroark, because of the draw engine, you can find very specific texts or strategies or things by playing one card, and you're able to draw into it a lot. So you get a lot of versatility because of the fact that you've got a huge draw engine and you can play random one-offs. And Mewtwo's kind of the same in the sense that you can play a toolboxy style deck, except instead of one-off cards like trainers, you've got attacks. And I think that's why, right? I think that's the same. Like you're able to solve problems with an initial base, and you're able to kind of sculpt it to whatever way you want to beat things. And that's the strategy part.
And back then with Acrobike and Cherish Ball came out, and then the tag call engine, discarding 2 basically to free yourself in certain scenarios. But you played the deck, I think you said this earlier in the Rapid Strike, the Garchomp Giratina.
Yeah.
Which is my favorite GX card. But you played that at Brisbane. Is that how you say it? Brisbane?
Brisbane, yeah.
Yeah, okay. What do you like so much about that?
Oh, dude, that deck is the best. That deck is the best. It is seriously just the best. It is so good. I don't know what Gustavo was on when he made that deck, but I want some of it. Like, that is... oh my god. That deck is seriously incredible. So I hadn't been playing at the time. Again, this is something that kind of happens. I take a lot of hiatuses from the game, but I hadn't been playing much at the time. And I was like, I'll just play ADP Keldeo or whatever. And I get to testing, I think literally like the day before. And I get there and I'm like playing this deck and I'm like, I want to die. This sucks. Like, regardless if it's good or not, like, I'm just like boring myself to death. I'm like, I can't play this. This is, I can't do it. And then Joao messaged me, he said, dude, this Garchomp Giratina deck's really good. And I'm like, all right, I'll give it a go. And I literally, like, I played it not even, I was like scrounging cards off people, like borrowing everything. And I played it not even like 8 times, I think, before the tournament. And I was like, yep, this is pretty cool. I like this. Let's do this. And then I think like Brent, the day before was like, he saw that I was playing because we were testing with him and it's just like, all right, guys, we're putting Marshadow in Mewtwo. And I was like, but what?
Your testing partner's tech against you.
I know. But anyway, and okay, so the deck was so cool because it I don't know, have you either of you ever played the deck?
I've played against it.
You played against it, okay. Not quite the same thing.
No.
I built it for that format last week. I grabbed your list because I wanted to get in the mind of Henry Brand, and then I went to Roxy Chomp.
Oh no!
Results were terrible.
Ruining it. Oh,
yeah,
my goodness.
I messed up. My bad.
See, I was a Mewtwo main the whole format.
Yeah, you liked that Mewtwo deck. I didn't like that one as much.
The tag calls and the break sard and
yeah,
that was fun. I love that thing.
I love tag call.
Right. Let's give me more tag call.
Yeah.
Anyway, go back on
Tag call's
Tina
nice.
Chomp.
Tag call's nice. Tina Chomp, oh man. It's the best designed tag team by like a mile. Mewtwo's got nothing on it. Mewtwo's way more broken
Mewtwo
in
is
comparison. I mean, it is, but
clip that, somebody.
Mewtwo's so much more broken than Tina Chomp. Tina Chomp is the most balanced, well-designed card that they printed throughout the entire tag team era.
What about
Yep.
Pikarom?
It is so great. Yeah, balanced. Nice one. Yeah, nice. It is so good. Like, its attack does a lot of damage, 240, but you have to set it up, so there's a condition to it. So again, it's got a restriction. GG End, like, is so good.
So good.
Because it, like, yeah, I don't think I need to explain why. Like, being able to discard something is inherently balanced because you take no prizes off it, and you have to use it at the exact right time. And this is like the definition of an attack and control deck, right? Like, you can't win games without controlling what your opponent does. Like, really, but you actually want to win the game, and you control them through attacking. Mm-hmm. And the fact that you set up game on board, essentially, where you like set up gradually, let them take prizes, and then you just all in do that. So cool, man, so cool. And
pop up with a B-string, throw down the Blacephalon. There's so many different interactions in the middle of the game. I love it.
And like piecing it out, like when you play against like Abilities Art or something, and you'd go, all right, bring up that GG End your energy, linear attack your Jirachi twice, and get to like a position where you just can't lose was sick. Or GG Ending a Marshadow with like Stamp Plant.
That's clever.
Cool.
That is something I've never had anyone do against me. And I'm very thankful they didn't. Yes.
Yeah.
I've never played against you.
Yeah.
I have. I'm sorry to everyone who I've played against at locals and whatnot, but you're not Henry Brand.
Is that a low-key dig on Lee?
Lee doesn't play good decks.
Okay.
Lee plays Greninja and Bulu. Okay. Yeah, he gets a different dig.
Yeah.
I have a couple of questions on this.
Go for it. Yeah, keep going.
So, one more recent, the Guznag. I fell asleep when you started putting that into the deck. What'd you think of it? I like it. I can't see how it works, but I really like it. It's reverse ADP.
It's Psychic
good.
Dark
It's
colorless,
good.
correct? For the attack?
Yeah, Psychic Dark colorless. Yeah. So, I mean, I just like it with Moltres because it uses dark energy, and so you're less reliant on, having other things. It's good. I like that, because as much as I was saying, I like building out strategies to win specifically from the get-go, I do like having options within the game. Like, back in the past, I'd like to play more random kind of useful here and there things rather than planning like entire games, because it's more fun when you adapt on the fly, right? And also, if you change your game plan, then your opponent doesn't know what your game plan is. Like, you have more options and you can do things. And also with Moltres, like, I guess when you're going for pure aggression, like if you're trying to win the game through aggression, it's good to have options. So like if you take 2 prize, or like a single prize knockout, like let's say Ice Rider, which I think is still a terrible matchup, but let's say you knock out a Sobble, you knock out a VMAX, and then you just GX. And you don't have to go through the second VMAX, which a lot of people are trying to force you through it. So that's big. The ability's pretty decent. I don't know. It's fine. It's not insane, I think, but still trying to figure that deck out.
Yeah, I think my concern with the card is the ability, because you can't play it in like the greens. Like you can't set it out there early enough. Like you have to wait.
Right.
If you're playing a green, like.
Well, yeah. Back to
unless you want to shut down your own. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean you have Power Plant, so that's how you could use it, and it got enough use. I think that it was pretty good. You could set up game with it. It was good against ADP Keldeo, the Guznag. So a couple things. It would one-shot Keldeo with Jet Pierce, which was pretty good with Power Plant, whereas Tina Chomp wouldn't. And also Chaotic Order was very good as well to just like, kind of thing.
Take 2 prizes is good.
No.
Like,
yeah, 2 prizes is pretty good. You can take a Jirachi and ADP and then Chaotic Order, and you don't even have to, go through it. But the ADP matchup was really good initially for that deck, and then if people played Big Charm, it wasn't as good. But it was still pretty good, I thought.
The Fairy
'cause you could
Mimikyu
do stuff.
made it tougher, right? Or am I
If they
incorrect?
played Fairy Mimikyu?
Yeah.
No, I don't think it mattered too much because you can play Weak Guard. You can put a Weak Guard on your Chomp.
Okay.
That wasn't too bad.
Your list played 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
Back then.
Yeah, I played 2 and you could actually beat Guardian with 1. Guardian was actually a fine matchup. Astonishingly enough, because you just control them. They have to draw very well off stamp to beat you. But yeah, the Fairy Mimikyu was fine, but I think it was pretty unlikely that they use it anyway, because the way it would kind of work is that you could either KO the ADP after they altered, and then they're gonna get 1 KO with Fairy Mimikyu, and then you KO the Mimikyu, and then they've got no energy on board and aren't attacking for 3 turns. So that's irrelevant. And then, or you GG the ADP, which got you into a little bit of a harder game, but it was still doable.
Before they can accelerate.
Yeah, because all you had to do was stop them ultimate ray. That's the word.
That's so good.
Back in the good old days with no Metal Saucer.
Oh,
the deck was balanced.
Yeah, balance. Metal Saucer was a mistake, Yeah.
I mean, now the Moltres is still kind of annoying because
Moltres might be the best card of the format.
It's pretty good.
It's a standalone card. Really good.
But again, it's got restrictions.
Yeah.
It's got a limit. You can use 1 Moltres per turn, whereas Metal Saucer, it's like you could draw into 4.
Yeah.
The volatility is so difficult to play against. Yeah, exactly.
It's got the same restriction. The energy's got to be from discard. That's fine. But yeah, only 1. Okay. Well, turn 1, that's fine. I quick ball for it, and I've got it in there. And attach, and then I'm attacking. But I damage myself.
Yeah. Moltres is inherently more fair.
And if you don't get damaged, then you play Moo Cheese.
No.
I almost got it.
No one's agreeing.
That was just passed by without a thought.
What? No, we're not doing that.
That heals from 2 Pokemon, by the way. I have a question as well on the custom catcher at the time was the Gusted format. What did you think about that versus boss? Like where we're at right now?
So much better.
Yeah.
So much better. Yeah, I didn't have any problem with custom catcher. It was fine. I think it was good. I think limited gust is very good. Great catcher was like fine, a little bit. Great catcher made the Mewtwo mirror just so volatile though. It was awful. Like the Mewtwo mirror before, it was like pretty like cerebral and kind of fancy. Like you tag purge and then all this nonsense. And if you play Cobalion, you just like so good in the mirror. The Cobalion was so good in the mirror.
You love Cobalion.
It's good. The card got printed. The card got printed in Team Up. I have so many of these stories. The card got printed in Team Up, and I have some friends who are like, we play. Like I knew them before Pokemon, and I got them into it. And one of them's been the Worlds and stuff, but I always like dump my random ideas on them. And I was like, Cobalion's good card, and they're like, when? And I was like, I don't know, but it'll be good at some point. Like it cannot not be good. The GX attack is inherently good, and it was really good for Worlds. And it spawned like a bunch of amusing things. There was so many Reddit threads or like people on Twitter or everywhere like saying this. And then there was one Reddit thread in particular, which I tried to find the other day on stream. And this like people were just like, why is he playing Cobalion? There's no metal energy for the ability. And then people were like, for the GX attack. Oh no, it's like it's for the GX attack, and then he's like, but you have no metal energy. I think this is just an oversight. Like, how could someone at this level of a tournament make this oversight? Like, this is crazy. I can't believe. Like, literally, these people are so like deluded that they're like, they must have missed this. This is unfortunate. Like, and it's like, geez. I mean, if I made the oversight and was playing a dead card in the deck, that's even more of an achievement. But
Reddit's a cesspool though.
Yeah, but even just in general, it was amusing. But the card was good. The card was very good, and but in terms of custom catcher, which we're back on, it's really diverted there. Sorry about that.
No, that was a good one. I had to get to Cobalion at some point.
All right, we'll get there. We got there.
We got there. We're good. I had to get there though.
So Castle Cash is really good. Boss is atrocious, and I really, really hate it. And this is something that I touched on at the moment. I think, as I said, like I like having options in the game, and I think it makes it more interesting. And something as well, which you'll find in older formats, is that you can't make your deck as compressed as things are now. At the moment, you play like maximum copies of everything, kind of, because you just want to draw into it as soon as possible. But you're only going to need like 2 VMAX a game or something, or 3 maybe at most, if you're trying to like manipulate prizes. And you can play absolute max copies of everything and max copies of boss because the games end so quickly, and they're such game deciding things. So I never had a huge issue with like Guzma or like Lysander back in the day, because most of the time you weren't even one-shotting the GX Pokemon. And even if you did, it's a third of your game. And so the best example I have is Boss back in the day of like 2015 or 2016, I think, when you had Shaman, Parallel City, even like Lele and stuff. And so you could go, all right, I'm going to Lysander early and knock out the Shaman. Right, so this is even with VS Seeker, by the way. So Lysander was super prevalent. And it was like a little bit annoying, but you could go Lysander the Shaman. But it's at the cost of setting up your board. Because, anything. But you think, there was like a constant think like, okay, if I don't KO the Shaman now, it might get Parallel City'd. But if I boss KO Lysander KO the Shaman now, then my N for the rest of the game is 2 prizes weaker, 2 cards weaker. My opponent's going to continually end me. So I can take the prizes now and they don't lose it. But if I take them now, I might struggle to set up in the future because I'm going to get end, like it's bad. I might struggle to find another one later on. If I hit something, it might retreat and hide and I won't be able to Lysander it. And so there's actual like thought process coming into it. And with Guzma, again, you're not really one-shotting everything most of the time, so it was like fine outside of like a GX attack. I guess it was a little bit oppressive with Zapdos to like chase down basics, but that's like not a huge issue. It was so much better. Whereas now, like, boss ends the game. Every game is basically decided by boss. Like either you boss a evolving V early, and it's just because you take so many prizes and often one-shots with boss that it's pretty unhealthy. If it didn't take as many prizes, like if we had a 2-prize format, it might not be as bad. But these decks get so restricted by being able to play like 4 of each card and not get punished, that skill goes away in that regard as well. Because if you're playing a deck with like fewer copies of each card, so the longer the game is, you can't get away with like, playing down to Dene every single turn or playing like 4 switch, things like that. And so you get to scenarios where your opponent's used all of their 2 of resources or something, and suddenly that's a restriction you can play around. Like you can boss stall something, or you can change your gameplay accordingly. But now there's no such thing really as resource management.
No,
not the Oranguru part of it, but yeah.
It's literally out of the format.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like you said, there's 4 of everything, and that's how you just build decks now. You just go control, double click, 4 boss, 4 Marnie, 4 research, 4 switch, 4 quick ball.
It is funny that that's I'm playing the Tord build. I have 4 of everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
And now
say no more.
the correct way to do it now, because the game is so fast that
exactly
doesn't really matter.
And it just it also makes the games very similar to each other because of that. Like you have less options in your deck, and the more of each card you have, like literally the less possible variations in a game there can be. Like the order you draw your cards and things like that, there's statistically less variations, and so it inherently gets more straightforward.
Especially when you can draw so many cards, like
Yeah.
Crobat, Dedenne, and let's say you research all in the same turn, that's half your deck right there. Like, you're going to see whatever it is you want to see because you have, like you said, so many of them, and then your turn one is going to be the same because you saw whatever it is you wanted, right? Like,
yeah,
no, that's a good point.
And the fact that, like, as I was talking about, like, I was saying, I want to have a strategy for each matchup built before the thing, like, I want a specific way to win each thing. The fact that that is doable is not really a good thing, I don't think. Like, the fact that I could plan out, like, the whole game from the get-go with decks is not great, because inherently it means there's something kind of wrong. The fact that you can do that, and it also means that the fact that you can execute such precise strategies and powerful ones every single time means that matchups are so polarized, because either you win or you don't based on the cards in the deck. There's no kind of play around it or anything. And also, this is another thing. I'll stop. I need to get my sticky note up again.
No.
Another thing as well is that pretty much all of the skill is in micro decisions rather than macro decisions at the moment. So when I say that, I'm talking like sequencing rather than gameplay, and like what you attack, when you attack it, etc. What attack you use. Those are pretty minute now, whereas most of it's sequencing. And the problem with that is it doesn't mean that the game isn't skill based. It obviously still is because there's skill in sequencing, but it becomes a lot less noticeable because it's something you're doing that all it really does is affect your luck. So it alters your probability. So you can still miss despite maximizing your odds, and it's unrewarding. Whereas your opponent can sequence awfully and still draw what they need, and so they don't get punished. And so a lot of the time they will, and this is why you still see top players doing well consistently, right? Because there is still plenty of skill in the game, especially in sequencing and things like that. But it's not very satisfying because you can't see when your opponent's misplaying. You can't see when you make a good strategic play and they play into it, or you can't quantify where you're playing well, I guess is the way to put it.
Melo's sort of made a career off of that right now. Like his streams are so good of calling out his opponent. Why would he do that? And then they still have it to beat him.
Nothing feels better than watching an eternalist just do everything wrong. But they said to have 2 energy, so like who cares? They could still click Dread End over and over again.
The old boss, turn 2 big charm boss on your Zapdos kind of thing. 210.
Nothing, and I was talking about this on stream earlier because I was building Tapu Koko VMAX. Shout out to my opponents having switch every single turn. But I hit a Victini. They went attach pass turn 1. I electrify. They go VMAX boss. Sick. Bench another Koko, electrify to it. I can still win. Boss. It's just like, I really hope this isn't what it's going to be like in Sword and Shield on, because it feels...
There's no way they have boss.
Really bad.
Eldegoss.
Yeah, we need a stamp.
Price 2 boss.
Yeah, when you have 4 boss and you have Goss, so quick ball isn't out, and all the VMAXs Oko evolving Vs, boy, does going second seem like it's going to be really bad.
Yeah.
And I'm worried. I hope I'm wrong.
Especially the Umbreon as well.
Ooh.
Especially the Umbreon. Yeah.
Yo, bloodthirsty eyes. Let's go.
Yeah.
As if Eternatus needed a better way to take Okos.
Well, I mean, we could roll that into another Grant rant as far as not having the Gengar and the other Inteleon, or even the kicking chicken, Blaziken.
Oh, yeah.
VMAX.
We've got
Are we ever going to see those? No, there's a second one.
Oh, is there?
What?
Yeah.
Is it good?
I believe so.
I don't know. I don't know what cards do. I'm not someone...
It looks...
The only reason I know
like
what
he's
any
standing
future
on a
cards
pumpkin?
do is people tell me.
Blaziken VMAX.
Yeah. Isn't there a thing like that? The chicken. Or Reboot. What's Reboot?
Cinderace?
Oh, Cinderace. Right.
Cinderace. There's another one of that.
Wrong firefighting starter.
Whatever. A bird. Firebird. All I know is Moltres right now, and I think that's the best card in the set. So
Shadow Rider's the best.
Well, that's a combo. That's 2 cards.
I will admit, I think I put Moltres at like number 5 on my list of top 10 cards, and I was incorrect.
You put Tornadus number 8 of your VMAX.
Yeah, Tornadus.
You put Celebi number 5.
Okay, I was wrong, but like Tornadus is just single strike Urshifu. It's just not interesting.
Not bad.
It's good, but it retains its energy. And then if you need to hit through something, or you need to, well, one, and its weakness resistance is pretty good.
It's weak to Pikarom. How's that good?
Nobody plays that.
Bro,
come on, Mello.
So good.
Get with the times, my guy.
No one plays Spiritomb. That doesn't mean it's not a tier 1 deck.
You can keep trying.
It's not a tier 1 deck, and I will die on this hill.
No, Spiritomb is a good deck.
Spiritomb is not a real deck. It is not.
All right. Fenrir's
it is not real.
What? How is it not a real deck?
Spiritomb is the Passimian of the format.
What?
Oh,
those are fighting words.
That.
Passimian's not a real
deck. It is.
Chat, go to work.
Passimian's not a real deck.
That's awesome.
It is not.
It hits so hard, so fast. It takes no truly bad matchups. Urshifu and Teleon's probably a bad one, but that's not a real
Spiritomb. I've pretty much never lost to Spiritomb.
That's because they're bad. It's that simple.
You're also very good.
Yeah, but this is the thing. This is what if a deck isn't, if I'm not losing to a deck, right? The deck's probably pretty bad.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be because I'm playing well that the deck's like, if the deck is bad because I'm playing well, then I think it's not because I'm playing well. I think the deck's bad.
No, it's because Tomb is so, it's like, it's not hard to play. It's not like me being good at Tomb makes me big brain. I'm literally just good at Tomb. But like, I think that's gotta be it. Like, the amount of times I see people play terribly with Spiritomb, I think you're beating bad Spiritomb players.
I mean, maybe, but you know,
it also depends.
I don't know. I just think.
Is there someplace like a YouTube video I can find sequencing on Spiritomb?
Shout out to youtube.com/ I don't have a vanity URL, so Mellow Magikarp on YouTube. No. I've got a bro. It's actually a really good video. I go from 0 to 100 to Oko and Agrow in one turn. It's pretty gas.
Ooh.
Yeah, because I move all of my Spite to one Spiritomb. They have a 2-card hand. Yeah. No way they got boss. They just drop the boss on it. And then we just pop off. It's so good.
This goes back to Relish. When you take the Scrapper out of the deck, the original build had Swells and Scrappers, and like started messing with the energy and all the other and Stamps. Stamp is so good in that deck because you're gonna get a 3-prize KO. Like they're gonna take out a 3-prizer. Like, so at least we get him to that level. Marnie doesn't do that for you. You give him 4.
It's close.
I don't need 4. I don't need 4 points. I have a Rillaboom. I have energy. I'm ready to go.
Spiritomb's good. Tier 1 deck.
Did you ever play it, Henry?
Not very much of it, nah. I didn't.
It was very fun. Granted, I just like Mewtwo in general. Like I enjoyed Malamar Mewtwo. I enjoyed Welder Mewtwo with the tag call engine. I liked the Pikarom Mewtwo, but not the like Aurora version. Is still some of my best finishes in the online world. So I'm just a Mewtwo fan, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean the 4 Mewtwo deck builders of the Apocalypse: Henry, Tord, Pedro, and Grant.
I was waiting like he's gonna put himself on.
Ketchup, mustard, and relish. There it is.
Sure, if you say so.
Did you know about the Espeon Deoxys for Pidgeotto? Was that like the game plan? Because like on stream, like to drop the 20 on the Pidgeottos, or
what do you mean? The
like against Pidgecontrol to use the GX. The Espeon
so I didn't play against it.
I know, but like on stream, like they were like, "Is this a thing? Like, does he know he can do this?" I think it was Robin, maybe.
It was. I think both Robin and Bert played against Pidgecontrol.
Like, were you aware of that? Like when you put that in the deck?
Oh, right. When we put it in, right? No, because like we didn't know it was a deck. We didn't know Pidgecontrol was a deck. So the Espeon Deoxys was kind of good in general, but it was specifically good against Malamar. We're just like, if we just kind of win like every time.
2 of them.
You know, if we go first, you just win every time, and then even going second, it's alright. If you went second, you kind of wanted to play a longer game and then GX later on, because with Shadow Impact, you force them to put damage on themselves, and so you could like kind of Venom Shot around it if they didn't have Mew, or you could like Custom Catcher and do things. But yeah, like of course, like if we play against Pidgecontrol, we're gonna be like, yep, we're gonna GX this. That was the thing as well. We knew Spiritomb was like kind of a deck because Bert was like testing it a little bit, even though it didn't end up being good. And before that, we already beat Spiritomb because you could.
I'm not gonna argue with that. No, I also tested it. Yeah.
We realized that we beat it anyway because of Miraculous Duo. Kind of like beat it because you pivot around. But when we had Espeon Deoxys, we're just like, okay, Spiritomb is just like 100-0. But the Pidgecontrol deck ended up being good because of Espeon Deoxys, yeah.
Spiritomb keeps coming up here as being a bad deck.
Well, this was there was no Pokemon search except Cherish Ball, P-Calm, and Treasure. So
yeah, it was terrible.
You could only play like 3 decks in that format, and that was GXs, Malamar. Yeah. That was it. GXs are Malamar.
I mean, that's part of the thing. I've said this before on other things, but I've never gone into a tournament being as confident in the baseline strength of my deck as Worlds. Like, just because everyone else's decks were like more inconsistent, or people were playing random stuff, people didn't know it was good, but like it was just so strong. Like it was ridiculous. You hit 200 turn one like every game, pretty much. It's like so consistent,
and no threat of being O-code right off the rip.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty fine. What was weird though was that I don't know if you guys noticed, but it actually didn't pick up that much traction for about a month after winning Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like people just didn't really play the Mewtwo, and like people didn't think it was good, and they were like trying all these random things, and then eventually you saw like Danny and Azul won like regionals with it. But
so I wonder if that has to do
was the Malamar matchup. A lot of people couldn't figure out how Mewtwo beat Malamar, and everyone played Malamar in that format. It was the God, I hated that. I played like 4 Malamars on day one. It was thank you for the wins, but play a real deck, please. Yeah, I think people couldn't figure out how to get it.
Says the Spiritomb player.
Tomb is broken. Tomb is not gatekeeping. Mally was such a gatekeeper in that format with the stupid spell tag, distortion door, just shenanigans.
Yeah.
I wonder if it has to do a couple of things. One, to get the Mewtwo's, like, it was tough to get 4, and then all the GXs, right? That was a task. So, I mean, you could order it, whatever.
It was an expensive deck, that is true.
It was very expensive, and then on the other side, too, you being from Australia...
Yeah, all of you
no one is really giving you credit. Like, who is this guy? Did he,
Did you know
nice
you only
win,
need 30 rep to qualify for the Players' Cup? I think you all suck.
You only need 250 championship points, and those Australians have less than 200 players at their regionals.
Yeah, and they're playing each other all the time. It's just a friends meet up every weekend.
Bro, they just scoop the same players into top cut every time.
Yeah.
Like, this is
how many CP do you need? All right, I'll pick up. Kywin brought his rainbows.
Sunny.
He did have a good run, though. I'll give him that. That was a pretty impressive run. Couldn't see what he was playing, but
I think as well, in terms of Mewtwo getting picked up after Worlds, I think it was like this is fun. I have so many funny things about Mewtwo as well. But there's an Amazon review for the World Championship deck from 2019 that says, "Do not buy this deck. I don't know how it won." On an Amazon review.
You got to reply to that.
It's incredible, but I think as well, like, it was deceptively hard to play. I think people couldn't quite figure it out. And I think I think just it wasn't quite there, because it was like I think people thought it was easy if you hit Welder every turn, which it is, right? And people thought it was inconsistent because maybe they weren't drawing Welder every turn, but you didn't need to. Like, you absolutely didn't need to. You have Turbo Strike,
so
exactly.
Good. I miss that.
So good.
I think actually,
like,
now
you just
that you
need
bring it
one.
up, that's got to be another thing, right? Like, so locally, it was the Malamar matchup, right? Like, the amount of people who are like, "Oh, you're playing Mewtwo, I win," and it's like, no. But the towards tempos are thing, not tempo, whatever it was, the fire
abilities are.
Like, I assume
abilities are. Yeah.
If people played the deck in aggro, the Zard was always quote unquote better, because you're just like, I'm gonna welder and bop stuff in the face, versus Mewtwo, where you actually had things besides welder and bop and face. So that might have been another issue too, of like, well, this is just worse,
I think,
right?
Yeah, I guess so. And I think sometimes the sequencing got a bit weird with Mewtwo as well, but also you just could like do more interesting things, I guess. And I think also, like, the abilities matchup was bad on paper with the initial list. I don't think it was actually that bad, because you're so fast that them doing their ideal game plan in exactly 3 turns, I think it was, is pretty unlikely. Like them, because Mewtwo was a pretty big gatekeeper of that format for sure. Like, it was so broken, especially when the GX Zard came out. But yeah, like they have to draw really well, right? To Victini on turn 3 or 4 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But then for the special event after Worlds, I put in Wobbuffet which turned off Victini, and then you just won. Like it was very easy. So that kind of like fixed the thing.
And
was so good.
And Coco.
Yeah, and it turned off Coco, which is
although to be fair, Pikarom versus Mewtwo, like Mewtwo was favored in that matchup. As someone who played a lot of Pikarom, a good Mewtwo player was scary. Bad ones, I think.
Yeah, the only I think looking back, the mistake I made was not playing a third Switch after Worlds when Pikarom got more popular, because the matchup was still favored, but if you played 3 Switch, you could never lose. Like you just could not lose if you played 3 Switch, and I didn't, and so I ended up losing some Pikarom matchups. But I was a bit stubborn, I guess. It's fine.
Plant Tandem Shock is a very.
I mean, I always thought the Power Plant did absolutely nothing.
Nah.
But
you just
who are you playing against that doesn't have a Marshat on? Yeah.
Again, good Mewtwo players are scary. It's the other Mewtwo players that were perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I never actually got to go to a standard regional in that tournament. And I only played day 1 of Worlds. I didn't play day 2. So I literally just played against Malamar all day.
Oh, those lists. Oh, they were bad to look at. It was kind of like satisfying to be on the, like, us walking around and looking like all these Mewtwo lists, and we're like, yeah, no one's figured it out. No one's got this at all. And then it turns out that towards this, like Torn and Robin, their list was like closer, but it was still a bit like Hapu focused.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we were walking around and like people have Rainbow Energy and Altaria in their deck. Like, what are they doing?
Well, that was the Japanese list. Was the Fairy Mewtwo, right?
I tested.
Like, well, no, there's a lot of American
Altaria. The Altaria came out. I remember seeing that. Like, and then a lot of people thought that was the way to play it.
That's what I thought. I tried a lot of decks. I spent that whole summer just like, I'm just going to test the whole time. I put a lot of time into Fairy Mewtwo. Boy, that deck was not. I was like, this deck has to be good. Let's just keep trying it. So many hours wasted.
Spiritomb.
But people playing Altaria in the deck, man. What are they doing?
It was a 2 energy attack. Hit what, 50?
Can't be hit by GXs. It's fine.
50 damage. Whoa.
Oh,
crazy. That's crazy.
It's like tag.
All right.
Bad.
Give me some time to set up. I appreciate it.
It was amusing as well because the green side matchup was like absolutely free. It was so good, but what we figured out was that you go second. You want to go second, and then you just tag, like if they have a Volk in the active, you tag purge. Also, you can clear vision as well. So you either turn 1 tag purge or you just clear vision. And if you clear vision, you can't lose basically, because then eventually you just like tag purge and then build up to a thing. And if you go second as well, the reason you would go second rather than first is because you don't want them to be able to obviously like flare starter, but you don't want them to set up a Reshizard, because the way it worked was that you would like, let's say you clear vision, right? So you clear vision. If they flare strike you after you clear vision, it's worse for you than if they hit you with Volk. And the likelihood of them getting like 4 energy plus switch onto their Reshizard turn 2 if they've gone first is pretty unlikely.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, or even like double blaze if you go tag purge, and you can like alternate based on that. And then it was like always free. And so like what was interesting when I played Greenside in top 4 was I opted to go second in game 2 because I think I lost game 1. I think I did. Yeah, I think I bricked. And then after, or it was one of the games, and then my opponent was like, I don't know what I want to do anymore. Like, do I want to go first or second? Like, usually I just go second. Like, you know, anyway. And then I actually ended up, I got a double prize penalty in top 4.
Really?
Which no one knows about. Yeah, because I Dedenne and I drew 7, and then I was just like, I just drew 7 off Dedenne because I was used to playing like Juniper for 5 years or whatever, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly my deck's like, and also because with the deck you'd play Pokegear, you look at 7, like Bills, you look at 7, like there was a lot of 7, and then I drew 6, and I was just like, I drew 7. I was like, I drew 7, and they're like double prize penalty, and that was the only way I ever lose that game is if I get a double prize penalty, and I was so close to losing, but I didn't. wild, but
You heard it here first, chat. All right. Speaking of penalties,
yeah.
Chintaros, slow play.
Oh,
What
the
have you ever
topic.
talked about this on
Yeah.
anything yet? Is this a
Oh
big?
yeah, every time I go anywhere, I get asked it. What do you think,
Sure.
Grant?
My bad.
Look, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I have a pretty simple take on it. If you have warnings and you get warned on the table, naturally it's going to escalate if they tell you it's going to escalate. It was a long time. I mean, obviously it wasn't malicious. There's no argument that can be made that it was malicious, obviously. But if you have slow play warnings earlier in the tournament that you don't get for stuff like that, you get for actual, potentially problematic things. Obviously it's gonna come back to bite you if something like that happens. And also, at the end of the day, there was only there was actually something that happened that skewed people's thinking on a little bit. So he had about I had a 70% chance to win. Like, he had to draw Welder that turn.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
He had 2 left with 1 Ultra Conversion, and he didn't top deck of a turn. But after the prize penalty game that he lost, he flipped to the top card of his deck, and it was Welder.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so people were like, he would have drawn Welder of Ultra Conversion. No, he wouldn't have. He would have thinned the deck with Giant Hearth every single time because he's a good player. Right? He's going to thin the deck every single time with Giant Hearth because he's a good player. Right? And if he didn't thin the deck with Giant Hearth and drew into Welder, I would have been incredibly suspicious.
That was
obviously.
That was like the narration, the commentators calling that and not knowing about the previous stuff, because to the blind eye it looked just regular deliberate play in the World Championship, right?
Yeah.
And what's all this going on? And they didn't even know. So maybe some, again, Pokemon doesn't care about you, cares about your money. But the the whole thing was such a shock, and then he did that too, and especially no one knew. It's but he wouldn't. What's going on here? But that's a good take, and it must have been. What were you thinking at the time? That had to be just a mess. I mean, you didn't know about his, warnings and stuff.
No. I mean, yeah, they were warning him a lot, and then they said, it might get escalated, and also he was being and this isn't a slight or anything, because you're in a very tense situation in the Worlds, and he was being fairly rude to the judges, a bit short with them, which again, you can't knock someone for that. Obviously it's a very high pressure situation, but in terms of, it wasn't like he was being terribly communicative with them, and so obviously something's gonna happen if you take too long. But I was just kind of thinking in my mind, I had enough of an advantage that I was kind of calm anyway, because he had to draw Welder in order to win. And the odds are in my favor there. But I mean, it is what it is. It just happens, I guess. If you feel kind of bad, obviously you feel bad. And I was more I didn't think this at the time, but just more the asterisk that it puts to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Is a little bit lame. I had to deal with that a lot. It's something that doesn't actually matter, because no one with a brain watches that match and goes, damn, that was stolen. And so people's opinions don't actually matter. Anyone who holds those opinions, right? Obviously,
that Amazon review though.
The Amazon reviews. But yeah, you should have seen, I copped so much on Twitter and stuff, people saying I should not refuse the judge's decision, which obviously you can't do.
You can't do that. Yeah, that's just
you literally can't do that. You can't deny a prize penalty anymore.
I'm the judge now.
Also, whilst I'm very for state of the game and having a fair match and everything, I would never rule shark someone if they do something very obviously accident, a slip of the mind or something. Let's say something that happened to me once, I ace roll of my Zoroark and then announced attack just before I attached the energy, I forgot or something. If someone did that to me, I'm not going to say your turn's over. You know what I mean? Reattach your energy. You didn't make a mistake, you just had anyway.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to refuse a double prize penalty on stage for a 25 grand match.
Yeah.
That's too much even for me. I'll let people get away with a lot of stuff, but I'm not gonna. But not that I could anyway. But yeah.
Yeah, no one should ever be against that take of you definitely should have just scooped. It's
and it's it's an interesting call, slow play, right? You didn't call it. You didn't call a judge there and say, "Can my opponent play faster?"
No.
Yeah, there was more than one judge watching, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they made the decision, which might call into the legitimacy.
Yeah, when it's a
Pokemon,
judge
they want
decision, it's a little bit different. I think no one should ever be obligated, nor that they should like deny a judge decision, because I think otherwise, not only because Pedro says like, where's the line? Like, that's if you get to the point where you think that you should be rejecting judge decisions, then anyone who doesn't suddenly gets like crucified for it. You know what I mean? Like you can't have that moral ambiguity kind of on it. Like an example. If someone does something like, they draw an extra card by accident off trade or something, I'm going to let them fix it. I'm not going to call a judge. Like little things like that, that obviously are not a problem, especially if they're picked up by the opponent, like themselves, then obviously I'm not going to impact them for it. Right. But if a judge call's made, then I think that's the best line to just be like, nah, it's all good. And as I say, like, on this thing, like, round 1 of Worlds, I did this. It's crazy, but I always picked it up myself, so obviously it's not malicious. I was playing against Medi, Haffy, and I detonate into 7 rather than 6, and I said I drew 7, and he's like, take the card and shuffle it back. And that saved like my entire tournament. Like if he was a dickhead, then I could have very well been screwed the whole tournament. But I think that's the important line. Like we shouldn't be rejecting judge calls, but yeah.
There are some dickheads out there, though. That's for sure.
Plenty of some. Yes.
I've come across them. Like when I was first playing, like the first cup, he called him over like he's slow playing. Like I'm not slow playing. Like I'd been to like 2 challenges, and I'm shuffling and like playing my normal pace, like quicker than PTCGO. And like he's slow playing, like because he's slamming cards down quick, and like. Chill, dude. Like, and the judge's gonna like, what are you complaining about? Stop that. Yeah. All right, relax, dude. There's 25 minutes.
Yeah. Shout out to all the good judges who will very quickly turn down rule sharkers of like, no, it's fine.
Can we just play the game in good spirit? And if there is an issue, call that out.
There was this one one time at OCIC, because it was so it's OCIC 2019. It was where I started like doing well, because I hadn't played like properly before then, like consistently at tournaments, and I started doing well. And I guess I was a no-name Australian to a lot of people, but I played against one person's like a American player who'd come over, and I drew an extra card off. I'm not gonna like name names because I'm not about that, but just the story.
Do it.
Fill it.
Fill
it.
No.
Go on.
You're good.
You're on the American podcast. We spilled the tea here. Boston Tea Party.
But anyway, so I draw. I trade, and I trade a second time without evolving the Zoroark from my hand. Right now, in this situation, obviously, if someone wants to call a judge, that's totally fine. You have no way. But what had happened was that I had drawn the 2 cards, and then immediately it stopped. Like I think he picked up on it. I'd drawn the 2 cards, and I held them separately from my hand, so you could very clearly tell what were the trade cards, what wasn't. And also, it turned out that I'd Ace-a-Rollered earlier as well, so we knew I had a Zoroark in my hand. Anyway, and so it was just a little bit of a slip of the brain kind of thing, like I did the wrong order. It is like pushing it a little bit, like someone doesn't have to allow it. Like that's totally fine. If you want to call a judge, that's no worries. Judge comes over and says, what's going on? And they said, can you prove the Zoroark was in your hand? I think not that it would have affected it. And I'd showed my opponent the Zoroark. Like we'd forgot about the Ace-a-Roller, but I had the cards completely separate. And the judge asked my opponent, can you confirm the Zoroark is in his hand? Right. And he says no.
Ooh.
And my opponent, it was just lying to a judge, and I was pretty like green on like judge rules at the time, and like I've been playing for a long time, but not to this competitive level. And I was like, well, look, according to, and again, we didn't know about the Ace-a-Roller yet, like the judge figured it out, but I said, look, according to the game state, I don't think game knowledge wise he knows, but I have shown the card, right, and the card's separate. Like I've told him it's clear, but game state wise, I don't think we can prove it. But if I had have pressed, let's say, for lying to the judges, then that's a pretty big deal. But I didn't know at the time, right? Anyway, and so I get a double prize penalty, and the knowledge wouldn't have affected anything at all. It was just for them and the game state. And so I got a double prize penalty. I lost that game, which was fine. Like I would have won, but it's fine. And then we got to game 3, and suddenly I'm in a very good position because it was Zora Rock Mirror, and I'm like, I was doing fine. I went first. It was all good. And then I started looking at the stream time because I could see the stream timer, and my opponent was taking a long time for their actions. And also in game 1, which is early on, I took a long time for a Mallow decision, and my opponent was like, "Oh, I can play a bit faster." I was like, "No worries." Anyway, and then I look at the clock and I start like counting the seconds, and they took 30 seconds for an action. I was like, "This is getting a bit long." And I was like, "Oh, I know I was a bit slow earlier, but could you play a bit faster?" And like, "Yep, no worries." Keep playing slow again. And I was like, "Geez." And the judge had been watching, and the judge comes over after I told him again. The judge goes, "Due to slow play warnings from earlier in the tournament, we're going to be giving you a double prize penalty." And then I just go, "Guzma, dangerous rogue game."
That feels good.
But it was like, yeah, it was karma, but just like, it's just no need to be so, I guess, strict on things, and just spirit of the game goes a long way for sure.
I played IRL on Saturday, and my opponent put Zigzagoon. They were playing Zigzagoon, Galarian, whatever, Obstagoon, the V. Like, I'm like, do you want, like, after she put it down, I'm like, do you want to put damage counters anywhere? Like just like, let's.
Of course.
I know you're playing a dated deck, but like, let's play the game. Like, you're playing it for a reason.
Yeah,
like, just let's have some fun. Like, why are we all dickheads? Not everyone, but there's a lot of them. And
I mean, there's plenty of good ones too. But
IRL's pointed it out more than anything. How many just idiots there are out there that just, we're playing this for fun.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't get two. You didn't get two more. You didn't get 2 more Viv packs. Sorry.
Bro, I could have pulled a Chonkachu.
I literally tried to give Gamer a Viv pack today, and he said, "I don't want it." For pricing, I said, "I'll give you some Viv packs." He goes, "No."
Yeah, we had a situation at the tabletop stream where they did something. I forget. Oh, they evolved a Sobble into a Drizzle, but they'd played that Sobble the same turn, search their deck. Chat was witch hunting. Chat was like, no, they looked at their deck, and the judge walks over, and both people are just like, "I'll just put the card back in the deck and put the Drizzle back in your hand," right? Like, it's a like, we're playing a for fun unsanctioned tournament right now.
And exactly.
It's stuff like that where it's like, y'all need to chill right now. Like, they've got it resolved. Exactly. It's totally fine. Are you fine if we get to some questions from Twitch chat?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. Get wrecked. He's going to be here. He asks, how does it feel to be the reigning world champion for 3 years now?
I mean, doesn't exactly feel bad. I'm not gonna say that. Yeah, it's good. It's good. Yeah, it's good.
Does the pressure mount more? Like, do you feel more? Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's bad. I mean, I guess it just shouldn't let it get to me, but it feels like I have to take every tournament super, super seriously. At least in my own head, because like, I don't want to do badly. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that I never wanted to do badly anyway, but it feels like I can never take the foot off the gas. Yeah. Like, I can't just like rock up and have a good time.
You've never won a Hegster, so
you don't play online events, right?
Not
I think you
much.
played maybe 1 or 2 early on, but
played a couple early on. I did okay, but and I stream them as well, so that's like pretty draining and all that. But as I'm sure Mello knows, but I played one the other day, and it was the biggest mistake of my entire life. I played one on Sunday, and I was like, you know what, why not? I was already tired. I knew better than I should have known better. But it was best of 1. Yeah. And I can't do best of 1. I just can't. Like, it just drives me nuts. And like, I lost to Blissey because I researched like double boss and Leon turn 1 playing Ice Rider or something. And I was just like, I'm never gonna lose a best of 3 to Blissey. Like, ever. But now I've lost because it's best of 1. And it just stuff like that. I'm just like, I can't do it. Like, or if I brick, then you just lose. It's just the worst. Especially when you have to go 6-1-1 to make cut as well.
Yeah.
In like a best of 1 like best of 1, you have to go 6-1-1. There shouldn't be IDs in best of 1. But anyway, and I was just like, nah, this sucks. So if there's best of 3, I might play, but all the best of 3 tournaments are bad for the time zone.
They're all very NA focused.
So, yeah. So I haven't been playing too much.
You know what deck doesn't brick in best of 1? Spiritomb.
Spiritomb.
Yeah. Don't.
No, it doesn't brick in best of 1. It also bricks in best of 3. It's just you can't tell when it's bricking because it seems like it's drawing well. It's the Persimmon of standard format.
DeLocke asks, I think you've already answered this, but let's get to officially. What's your favorite Mew 3 deck name?
Oh.
Deck name?
Yes.
Probably Ultimate Mewtwo, just because like the story that I said, where it was like, just and also because people were like getting annoyed at names as well. Like at that point, it was just kind of like funny, and then after that, I just started deliberately giving like the Mewtwo decks like funny names. Like I don't take it seriously. Like people can call the deck what they want, but
Galaxy was good. Galaxy
was the next one. Yeah, it was just kind of fun, right?
Disco's fun now. Is that what we're calling it?
Disco. Oh, that's what one of the someone in chat's called. Chat's calling it Disco Mewtwo. I think it's not Mewtwo focused enough to even be called that. It's called Moltres Mewtwo. That's fine. But like Ultimate
I've
Mewtwo,
got it
like
saved as Disco Mewtwo and PTCGO.
But yeah, I don't know. Like I think it's probably Ultimate Mewtwo. I guess it's just kind of fun, and also like when you think of like that, the transitions as well for like Mewtwo decks, like it kind of is the most fitting name for it because it just kind of like everything. Like you could literally put whatever you want in it. Like all this special energy, it kind of made sense. Like regardless of the joke. And Solgaleo Mew 3 or like Rainbow Mew 3 just doesn't quite work. Like I guess Rainbow's fine. Rainbow Mew 3 is like the closest name for it. But
I like ketchup. Ketchup, mustard, and relish, I think was the best. Red, yellow, and green.
Actually, speaking of the names, I didn't like the Welder Mewtwo deck being called Perfection. Really?
Did you get pick that?
No. So I picked it for the box, and I thought it was good.
Okay. Yeah.
For the box, it's good, but like using it as like a colloquial name, like didn't feel right because it's just the name of the ability. Like it's a good Worlds deck name, right? Like because they're slightly different. You don't, you just call the Worlds deck whatever you want. But it's yeah, I don't know. It just call it Welder Mewtwo. Or at the time, you could just call it Mewtwo because there was no real other kind of deck. But
I do like that for the Worlds deck box, though. You didn't put Welder Mewtwo. Like,
no,
that's not exciting to a kid looking at the like. Literally, the deck is called Perfection. Like, give me that. That sounds great.
Yeah, exactly. It was a good name. It was a really good name for it. So that was good. But the Pikarom Judge is actually a better name for it. So that's what that deck is called. But yeah.
Sinichi18 asks, "Hi Henry, how do you find the motivation? How do you find the motivation to continue competing after winning your world championships? Thank you, heart emoji. I lost some motivation after getting top 4, and everything is, quote, not the same. Smiley face."
Ooh,
that's a heck of a good. Pedro always comes in with the top question.
Yeah.
If you watch his streams, I don't think he's lost motivation.
I think there's a bunch of ways you can find motivation. Well, you can look at it. So the way I do it, so motivation maybe isn't my strong suit, anyway. But in terms of the game, like, so I was ready to stop, like, quit before, like, after Worlds. So afterwards, I was going to stop. And actually, like, the morning of, I sent like a Snapchat to some of my friends saying, like, there's like, it's a very niche show, but if anyone's seen Hunter x Hunter in chat, there's like it's like this anime where the main character uses like basically all of his life force to beat one character, and then is basically like just done afterwards. Like for the rest of the series, like it's just done. Right. Anyway, and so I made like a reference to that. I was like, I'm gonna do that for Worlds. Like the morning of, I sent that because I was just ready to like quit afterwards, basically. And maybe not indefinitely, but sorry, take a break, which I'd always done in the past. Like I play a little bit here, a little bit there. And yeah, and so I was just like, but then after winning, I got more motivated again, I guess, because I couldn't stop. And so the way I think of it is 2 things. Okay, one, Worlds, but Jason's won it 3 times, so really, let's win it 2 more times, or else it's not quite the same.
Let's go.
And then there's like there's a bunch of ways. I mean, you can find joy in competing and just doing well anyway. But I think it's just like there's always something else to win. for me as well, like if I win an IC, I've won every type of tournament. So that's another goal. You know what I mean? Like to win every type of tournament, like that's cool. Win worlds again. But also there's the whole thing of like, and I guess maybe it's not as much for Pedro, and maybe I don't like it's not as much for me anymore either. But at least when you because I kind of came out of nowhere, right? Like in Australia, like I was known, and like always done well at tournaments. Like I was always in top cut at regionals and stuff, but like you're kind of unknown. And if you win worlds out of that when people don't really know about you beforehand, you could, from like a self point of view, you think it's a bit of like a fluke or whatever. People might not entirely respect you, and so continuing to want to do well and actually, make sure you have the, you've done enough to deserve the respect or whatever. Or, I mean, it's a very egocentric, driving force, but it's still something you can latch onto in terms of thing. And I guess Pedro doesn't need any more accomplishments than he already has, but there's no reason not to get more. You know what I mean?
That's well,
Pedro's got quite the accomplishments, but he is shout out to his stream if somebody's in there. They're electric. So much fun to watch. And early in the morning, same thing. Like those were some of the things that got me into the game. Watching you early, and then Pedro, and then Azul, and then Mello after that. It's just you guys have really set the pace, and it makes it exciting. That's the thing.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's good. There's no reason not to keep wanting to compete. You know what I mean? And once you've won something, you can still win something again, and win it twice, or no barrier. I don't think. Yeah, I don't think of it like that, at least. So, yeah, I just hope that Players Cup isn't counted in the cornucopia of tournaments, because
it is.
That's not something I will be. No, it's not.
No, Pedro just said in chat, no, I'm going for the Players Cup one.
That could be, yeah, but he added a Keck W, so it doesn't count.
Well, so you have the Grand Slam, right? Each intern, right? And then Worlds.
Yeah,
and then
that's
Players.
Let's count that.
Players Cup, and then I think we had to throw the first POG in. It's what, 1,400.
Well, we're not throwing that in.
No,
not as a world championship. Yeah, not as world champion. It's on my Limitless page. Yeah, it if it counts on Limitless, and if you want to take it up with Robin, Pedro, Tord's not on Limitless, but he's
the only problem I had with that tournament was that, and it's a bit of a bias, but just because of the time zones, it can't naturally hold the prestige that it should have, like an international tournament, because literally like an entire time zone is like discriminating. Like, granted, a lot of Japanese players still did well anyway, but I think they're built a little bit differently. I don't know about them, but I don't play terribly great if I stay up all night.
I mean, the time zone issues I had to start at 5 a.m. to play in that stupid thing. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what in my brain was like, bro, you have to do it. But like, I can only imagine how much worse it is for other parts of the world.
I started to heat-proof bronze ore with Centiscorch, and I cut the double out of the list. So it's all right, Eldegoss, let's see what we can do. 50 in recycle.
No, I gave you the broken Pikarom list. I don't know why you didn't play it.
Yeah, I didn't. I want to try something new. I was new to the game. Newish.
Gamer asks, we're going to go out of order because this came in. Have you actually won a pre-release?
That's a good. I feel like I have.
That's something else.
I don't really play pre-releases though.
Yeah,
that's the thing. I did maybe when I was younger, but
so you've not really won.
I hate pre-releases. I find them so boring and unfun.
I love pre-releases.
Yeah,
as long as no one pulls like a ridiculous deck out of it. I love constructed formats. I love theme deck. It's very fun.
I won with the Frostlass that does the bayonet thing. Is that it? Puts 7 damage counter.
Oh yeah.
Like, okay. I'm gonna hit 140. And I can do it again to KO myself. It doesn't matter.
I love pre-releases, man. I really hope Pokemon prints more stuff like that. Like, I want sealed formats. Give us a draft. Give us an official cube format. I'm down.
Jirachi in a box.
Roy John asks, Have you ever had to run away from a kangaroo gang coming home?
What, you cut out at the end?
You ever had to run away from a kangaroo gang when coming home?
Yes, definitely. They're really scary. You should see they've got like knives and hoods and all that. Like, if you don't flash the right sign, they take you out.
Gang.
Bad news.
Everything I know about Australia is true. Vegemite and kangaroos. Stellar Wish Gaming asks, what do you think will be popular in Players Cup 4 Global Finals? You put any thought into the current metagame?
Yeah. So I think obviously Shadow Rider will be popular because that deck's pretty good.
Very good. It can beat literally
Very
everything.
good.
I hate it.
Yep.
It's like, that's a cool Moltres. Whorehouse GX. Boss KO it. Like,
yeah, so Moltres does actually beat it, but you have to build it so consistent. You can't just put some Moltres in. Like, you have to make it so consistent. Like, I think you need to play basically 4 Moltres and like a ton of energy so that you actually get it off turn 1 every time. And that was the other thing with Mewtwo as well. Like, with the Mewtwo Moltres, theoretically, if you play Cobalion, it's pretty good as well because you can Cobalion to buy enough turn time to power up Moltres. Whereas previously, like, don't, or you can like Horror House as well. Like, you can do a bunch of stuff, but you need to play it consistently enough that you either get an extra energy in the discard for Moltres after turn 1, so you can KO the Gengar Mimikyu when they Horror House, but then you potentially run the risk of getting like super high rolled and getting like double bossed, which is really bad. But it's like fine. But you or you go like 1 on each Moltres. But even then, like, if they KO 1, you can KO then, and then like you still lose if they KO the Moltres if you have 1 on each. So anyway,
Cobalion might be better than Horror House. Because
so
you're throwing 3
Cobalion's
Prizer down there. That's so vulnerable.
Well, I mean, you'd use it through Mewtwo often, but 3 prizes don't matter in the Shadow Rider matchup if you only have 1 3 prizer. It makes no difference.
2 Moltres will win you the game before.
But who are you playing?
If you only ever put down 1 tag team, they're going to take 7 prizes anyway, so it doesn't make a difference. But like Iron Rule's better against Shadow Rider because typically you won't be able to like boss because they might be able to attack anyway. But Horror House is better against every other deck, I think. And also because Poltergeist is a decent attack to have, especially against ADP. But Iron Rule's okay as well. So it depends. But it just depends what you're targeting. I think Shadow Rider is going to be really good because it beats like most Moltres variants unless it's super consistent. And if they are, then it's difficult for them to beat like everything else. I think it beats. I think it was 50-50 with Ice Rider. I think there's ways for Ice Rider to make it better, like the matchup better, but I'm not sure. Ice Rider will get play because Ice Rider is a super good deck. It just feels really good to play. It's got some wonky matchups, but it is like a very coherent deck.
You said it feels good to play.
Yeah.
Is it not just attach, boss, smack stuff?
But it's got limitations. This is what I'm talking about. If you turn to attach, boss, KO, you lose your energy, and next turn you have to play Melanie, and so you're restricted in what you can do.
That's fair.
Right? And in this format, it's a bit of a hindrance, but it makes for interesting gameplay on both sides, right? Because there's something you can actually play around. And yeah, so
what version? Which version do you prefer?
Inteleon.
Okay.
Inteleon.
Good.
Inteleon. So Inteleon's very good. So Ice Rider Inteleon is the way to go. Chinchino is very bad. Well, not very bad. It's like an exaggeration, but there's just like no reason to not play the games aren't going to go more than 4 turns usually, or 5. And so you don't actually get value out of Chinchino until you get past turn 3. Like more than you would with Inteleon. And being able to search out the specific cards early, like an early boss turn 2 is good.
Yeah, you're going to have to apologize to Pedro and Tord. I think they like Chinchino more.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't tested the Chinchino, but I just really like the Inteleon version. I also like specifically searching for stuff.
Yeah.
Is very good. The benefit of the Chinchino version is that you probably get a better but yeah, you don't really play capture energy, which is the problem as well. So the Chinchino build gets not as good. and you just want to kind of search out things specifically. But the benefit is that you get to play the Mewtwo, I guess, which like nets maybe, and Mewtwo. I don't know if you actually would though. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. You can fix some damage with Zigzagoon. You can do things like that, but also attacking with the Inteleon itself is really, really good. If you like set up a stage where you can like attack with the Inteleon, and then you can go, you can like force them onto like awkward prize counts or things like that. Is really good. You can just manipulate your play much cleaner. But you end up getting like really weak to Stamp and Marnie. Not really, but more weak. So
something else the Cinccino version has that you're neglecting is it cannot be countered by Jolteon and Memory Capsule.
Not Mellow. Come on, guy.
You never
Beans.
know.
Well, that's a good
Beans.
point. That's a good point.
The beans
Forgot
are
about
out. He spilled the beans.
Grammar Time asks, you didn't eat vegetables till you were 15. Did you have scurvy?
No, I didn't have scurvy. Maybe I'm exaggerating slightly, but it was just to illustrate how fussy I was as a child. Maybe it was more until like 12. I don't know. I'm alive. That's what matters.
Parrots aren't that bad though.
Asian Ninja Evan asks, who is the better sheep, Mareep or Wooloo?
Ooh. I mean, Wooloo's the new kid on the block. So let me just quickly get up a side-by-side comparison and decide. Well, Wooloo's definitely cuter. There's no argument on that.
But is that the only thing that matters?
But no, I don't think that is the only thing that matters. Mareep's been around for a long time. Mareep's been in the game, and I think it'd be disrespectful to give the title purely over to Wooloo. I think I'm going to fence it and say they're both very good sheep.
Oh, come on.
You're willing to talk about the controversy of your opponent's penalty in the finals of Worlds, but not this.
Wooloo's too round.
What? That's the best part.
No.
No,
I'm not looking
I like.
I'm not looking for a
little hair going on.
Yeah, give me Wooloo on the ball card,
Wooloo's got
and
the
then we'll talk.
pigtails.
Because it is the ball.
No, Wooloo's better. And then Double, bro, Double's.
Okay, I like Double.
I think I like Ampharos more than Double.
Oh, okay. That's a hot take.
That's not even a sheep.
That's a hot take.
You have to compare Flaffy and Double.
It's a real hot take.
I'm not a Flaffy enthusiast. I think Flaffy's weird, but
yeah.
Actually, that's a good point. How do you get to Ampharos from the sheep? Is it just like a shorn sheep? Weird.
With a really long neck. I don't know what
neck.
Is.
Weird.
It doesn't walk like a giraffe, so it can't be a giraffe.
That's what you think.
Well, Henry has a Nexus decision coming up whether to go to math or biology and looking at animals, so he's going to figure this one out at some point, maybe.
Ooh, that's true. You can study.
Don't make it a coin. Do not make it a coin flip, Henry.
Bob
just quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Just quickly, Pedro says if the Inteleon version could beat Luke Metal, it would be his choice for sure. I mean, you technically can by playing a lot of tech cards, but then you've taken like a lot of slots. I think if you play like Phoebe and Scrapper and Leon, you beat it. You can also play like the metal crushing gloves or whatever they're called, and that's really good. But then you're like playing so many techs just for nonsense. And it's just Luke Metal's so annoying, man. That deck sucks, but it doesn't at the same time, and it's so frustrating.
Do you ever look at Japanese lists? Like, do you look at what's being played right now and stuff?
Yeah, I think so.
They play the gloves.
In Ice Rider.
They play the gloves.
Really?
Yeah.
There you go.
Well,
but that's a really good point though.
Right? In Ice Rider,
yeah,
just period.
Yeah.
What doesn't?
Struggle gloves because it's weakness.
Yeah,
so it's plus 30.
But you can also just use the metal clubs as well. Which I mean, they're functioning the same, right? There's no difference. The only difference, you should play the struggle. I think the weak guard ones are better. The struggle gloves, because
Inteleon.
You can KO a Dedenne with Inteleon if you ping it once.
Wait, that's broken.
You hit for 150 and then you can ping it. Yeah.
I like
That's a
that.
good point.
Yo, let's go.
I do want to point out.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. You did make a good point that you are saving cards with Cinccino build. It's 8.
Mhm.
If you're going 4/4, it's 8 versus 4/4/3,
Yeah.
4/4/4.
But you sacrifice consistency. But that's not all the engine, though, right? That's not all the engine.
Right.
You have
But
to play
just if you're
probably,
picking between
like,
the two, that's a good
Net
thing
and
to think
Mewtwo as
about.
well.
Yeah.
The Cinccino version gets, you want to use net stuff and you want to
Yeah.
which I guess
it's
is a
just like you
benefit
lose
of it.
the aggression that you get from Ice Rider from the Inteleon version. You lose the aggression, which is really good. And contrary to some people, I think the one of sniping Inteleon is very good.
100% agree.
Because there's no reason not to play at least one. Because like, especially if you're already playing Leon for ADP, it's very good. And for Mirror as well. And there's a lot of other things as well that are quite good in the deck. I think Parts of the Peak's overrated unless you're specifically trying to beat Luke Metal, and even then you only need 1 plus a Marshadow.
Yeah.
Like, it's always in combination with Marshadow. I think 4 Parts of the Peak doesn't work because the games don't go long enough that you can get it to stick and have an impact. And then what was the other thing I was going to say? Yeah, I think so. Phoebe plus the gloves beats Luke Metal, I think. The only problem with that is that you can't. Oh no, yeah, that works. Yeah.
Ooh, that would also improve Desi. Because you'd be able to attack through an Ice Rider while you attach to Inteleon on the same turn to set up the rest of it.
Yeah. Yeah, because Phoebe plus gloves means you can KO Luke Metal as well.
If I were going to the Players' Cup Finals, I wouldn't lose to Desi. I feel like it's such a good high roll pick for anyone who decided, I don't belong here, I'm going to play Desi.
I've been going on about Desi on stream for ages because you always have people come into chat, and this happened with Mewtwo as well, like with the world's Mewtwo. How do you beat Keldeo? Everyone would say, and like I should go on Reddit. It's like my guilty pleasure to anonymously go on Reddit and downvote everything. but it's my guilty pleasure. I go on and I go like,
I need to find your alt.
And anyway, so like I guess you just lose to Alola Ninetales then or Keldeo. Like, who's playing that? But I've been ranting about this recently, and someone said, how do you beat that with like it wasn't Ice Rider, maybe the Mewtwo deck I was playing. And why do they make these Desi decks? It's so crazy. And why do people play them? People play it on ladder as well. That just baffles me.
That annoys me because it's not like, hard to play.
Yeah. But it's like either their deck beats you or it doesn't. There's no gameplay involved.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's literally no, like, you're not doing anything. And fair enough if you go into a tournament and you think it's a good play, like, get your win or whatever, but it just baffles me. It's against like the logic of to me, the appeal of the game.
No, 100%. It's so unfun to play because you just go, I rare candied. No, I just have to chain Malolanas.
Desi Inteleon does have more gameplay, that is fair, but it's still a matter of like your deck wins or it doesn't, like most of the time.
Maybe there's so many people on there that the first time they play it, I need to play on the ladder, and because Henry Brand, world champion, hasn't been playing that much, his ELO is down with people who are just trying to figure out Desi.
Fair enough.
I mean, people played ADPZ on ladder to quote unquote practice. So.
The only time I like the deck is where people have counters for Desi and then someone finds a counter to those counters for Desi. So let's say like Parasol to counter like Muck or things like that. Then that's fine. All power to you, that's fine. But I hate that they print them in the first place and make you need to have to tech for these things. When like you actually don't. Like the correct thing is to not tech for them, but then you could just like lose the game theory thing. So anyway.
Just get good.
It's a whole nother thing.
Easy. Bob McDougall asks, what is your favorite card coming out in Evolving Skies?
Ooh, good question. Let's have a quick look. There's something specifically I like.
I'll hop in mine while you look.
Go for it.
Duraludon VMAX looks like a lot of fun. Everyone knows I'm a single. I don't simp for anything, but everyone knows I like the single strike archetype. I don't simp for anything, I swear.
That's anyone who has ever followed your Twitter account or listened to you talk in Twitch chat or listened to an episode of this podcast.
Yeah. I don't have any favorites. I don't simp to anything. But yeah, I think that's gonna be fun. Or at least a good wrinkle.
No, because Jolteon loses to Gale for us. Never mind.
As far as deck building, I think it'll be interesting with if you're gonna play metal, the metal V, or if you're gonna play Bronzong. I think, and how it affects like blocking, and then also you have the scroll to still hit through things. You still hit through things. It's pretty cool.
So I think I don't like Rayquaza VMAX because I don't like unlimited damage. I like the Jolteon conceptually, but as you said, very bad matchup. What do these cards do? Oh, there's the new Darkrai Prism clones.
Oh yeah,
broken.
Oh, those are kind of cool. Ooh, especially
the psychic one's ridiculous.
That's gonna change everything up. That's so messed
rotation up with Weavile.
That's gonna be mess, dude.
No, it's fine. Dark boxes. Ooh, I enjoy dark boxes. One of my favorite decks.
Maybe that's why they didn't give us Gengar. Like Dark would just be. It's gonna be too good.
Yeah, the Gengar's got Houndoom still.
Yeah.
New Gengar.
Yeah. Isn't it single strike?
It's gonna Houndoom. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not. We don't get it.
Well, no, but it'll have Houndoom regardless. It's got energy acceleration.
It's gonna be so powerful.
One of my favorite cards from the set that is not good and will not ever be good is Lycanroc VMAX.
Oh yeah,
it's so cool. Like the one energy, pick something that has 60 or HP or less remaining and knock it out. It's never going to be relevant because boss exists, right? There's just no reason to play it, but it's so cool. Like that's awesome. What if you played like a random fighting energy in a 1/1 Lycanroc in Ice Rider if we didn't have Gust? Like you could do cool stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially with that Mew, it's not as because like in a format with Mew, it'd be kind of cool against Decidueye, I guess. It's like that's a cool Rowlet knockout.
This goes through Mew.
Yeah, exactly. But like Mew will be gone by the time it comes out. Unfortunately. So it's like you just play anything that snipes to do the exact same effect.
Well, and then you get Toy Catcher is how they've translated it. That's the 50. Well.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think the Lycanroc's cool. What else is there? Is there anything else interesting that you guys think of?
I like the supporter. I think it's this set, right? Where it's like discard 2 cards, then it's Erica's Hospitality.
Oh yeah. Actually, that's the supporter I like. We're getting the Adventurer's Resolve.
Is that what
Adventurer's Discovery or something? Adventurer's Discovery.
No, we're not.
We're not? They must be making decks then. They must be making the
Gengar and Inteleon decks. Yeah.
Actually, Inteleon VMAX would be my favorite one.
I want that. I want Belelbo Bryson Man. I want Adventures Discovery. We're never going to see it right now.
I want that card because I like Erica's. And when you take away the hand limit, it just sounds like a good card.
I think what would have been more... I mean, maybe it would have been broken. I don't think it would have been broken. Would have been if you get to discard after you draw rather than before.
Ooh.
That would have been a nicer restriction, I think. And I don't think it'd be too broken. I think it's fine. Like, you draw 4 cards and you still have to discard 2. Like kind of a TV reporter kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like buff TV reporter. But I think it'd still be fine.
So. It's not even that buff. Because like realistically, TV reporter drew 4, right? Like you're not going to draw...
drew 3.
Oh, it drew 3. Okay, never mind. It is buffed. Because you'll probably draw 4 pretty consistently with this at least.
I'm pretty sure it drew 3, yeah.
What was the one that
I also like them...
There was something. Anyway, go for it.
Don't know. I also like the Medicham V. It's just
that'll be fun.
I like interesting mechanics like that. Yeah.
I mean, it is a card. I just think that
Raihan. Yeah, Raihan's cool.
I think this Reggie Drago will be pretty good, like as a single prizer.
Yeah.
With Cherum or whatever, just easy to power up.
That actually could be a fun deck.
Yeah.
Like the problem is it's the fire energy in there too, right?
A fire, yeah.
Yeah.
So you could, if you wanted to play it with a big boy, you could play with Victini. But also, I think
what
if I call it out now, they reprint Great Ball in here. Do we finally get gold Great Ball?
No.
Yeah, they're just gonna tease us like that forever.
We get what's this? This is a really weird print, and I don't think it's good. The full face guard, have you seen that?
I have, but I
Face
don't
guard.
remember what it
Oh,
does.
the mat? Yeah, it's the space
It's this
helmet.
Pokemon takes 20 less damage, but it only is if the Pokemon has no abilities.
Oh. That's fun.
Yeah, I don't really get the point of
no.
it, but
I mean, taking 20 less damage is the point.
you know, that's like if you take 2 attacks, it's only 10 damage better than Big Charm.
Oh, wait, Big Charm exists.
Yeah,
Oh, never mind.
It's
No,
very
it's not
bizarre.
good then.
No,
I mean,
it's weird.
it's probably not good at least.
No.
Well, okay. Well, trying to think of something. Like, if you had Path in play, and it still doesn't make it better.
Yeah.
Wait, taking 20 less is different than having 30 HP.
Yeah, because no.
It's worse. It usually
Right.
It's worse because shred attacks can go through it.
And if anyone plays
yeah.
Scrapper, then like
Or
it's not like they're
single
gonna
strike.
Scrapper knock you out versus like that's the only thing.
Yeah.
It's not good.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, it might be good, but
who knows?
I will be pre-ordering it.
Let Sander figure it out.
There we go. Ooh, Henry.
The one last card I like is Rescue Trolley.
Oh, I like that.
Oh
one
yeah,
too. I'm glad
one.
I printed that.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's really good.
Good call.
Here is a good chance for you to plug your wares. Kapow asks, does Henry do private lessons?
Yes, I do. I do coaching. I'm trying to do more of it recently now that I'm getting back into the game, and also I've got less uni going on at the moment, so I'm going to start doing more of that and Twitch streams. So if you would like to get in touch regarding some coaching, feel free to message me on Twitter or I guess anywhere that you can find me, but Twitter's the easiest.
Where else do we find you?
So, I also have I think my email's listed as well on Twitch. And if you're really feeling like it, there's Discord as well.
Cool. And for anyone
Twitter's
listening, Henry's Twitter will be linked in the description of the podcast, whether we're on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. So contact him through there.
I will say Kapal's been good. He's kind of filled that early morning stream spot for the Americans if you guys are up early. So shout out.
He
Congrats
does good
on the
stuff.
shout out. Yeah. I know he's but yeah, it's like the 4 a.m. ish here in the US. So it sounds like Mello wants to wind this thing up though.
Oh, we have a couple more questions.
Let's let it ride, baby.
Big D asks, what do you think of Mally VMAX?
I was one of the believers of the card initially. So I think it's good. I'm a bit torn. I just think that it's a little bit underwhelming because the hand disruption doesn't do enough. And the problem is, if you go straight in with Malamar VMAX, you're never getting them. Like if you let them go through 3 Malamar VMAX, sorry, two, you're not getting them to low enough that you can stamp them.
Moltres.
And so the effect of the attack isn't that relevant. Yeah, so you can technically do that, but it's a little bit wonky because, like, what if they boss KO your only Malamar V that you haven't evolved yet? You know what I mean?
Heroes Metal.
Just hope they don't.
Just hope they don't. Cheryl's good too, but the problem is, like, Cheryl decks without a way to search it or like a Cinccino engine are a little bit difficult because you have exactly one turn when you can Cheryl. Like you have to Cheryl at that time. There's no leeway. It's not like backspot decks in the past. Like you have to Cheryl at the time. And I don't think the effect of Max Jammer is enough to buy you that time as well, that you get enough impact. I mean, I could be wrong. Like it's something that I think you probably can't see the value of just by thinking about it. Like you might need to play a bunch of games and be like, oh, well, there's a lot of times where like Ice Rider has exactly one consistency card in the hand. But I feel like in general that's pretty low. And also you can play around it as well by deliberately holding consistency cards and things like that. Playing, like altering your play. It feels like something that is much stronger against, again, maybe a weaker player than it might be against someone who really knows what they're doing.
See, I think the options of the deck are why. It's not necessarily just the Mally VMAX, but it's you have just everything else that you can do. You can Dark Moon, you have your Mewtwo, you have Black Lance, you have Greedy Crush, you have your Moltres. Like, that's why I'm such a fan of it. Like, hey, I've got my Mally and I'm going to disrupt your hand, but also if you don't respond fast enough, I'm going to Dark Moon your threat, and then I just win. And I'm a fan of that.
Yeah, it's cool.
Pokemari asks, and this will be the last one. What single card would you ban from standard format if you could?
Marnie.
Single card.
Marnie, easy.
How do I pick one? Boss.
Okay.
I think boss. I think I'd pick boss because it doesn't do anything constructive at the moment. And the problem is as well is you could probably build more interesting decks if you didn't have boss. Like let's have a look at I know Pedro has been playing like Blaziken Urshifu at the moment.
Yes.
With a 2/2 line of each, which is super cool, but I really get like concerned of only playing 2 of a V because so often you need to get 2 down at once or else you get like chain bossed or whatever. And then you need, but like as a result of boss, you need to play much thicker lines. And then it, as a result, constricts creativity. So not only does it affect like gameplay, it affects like things like that. And that's not to say that like that's a bad deck because it's interesting. It's just the thing that jumps out to me that not having boss in format would fix. It would make a lot of other issues as well. Like Urshifu would probably be absurdly broken if there's no like bench barrier, right? Because they just do that, and then it's very difficult to balance Urshifu without boss. Because like let's say you print bench barrier on a Mew, and then suddenly they can't boss and KO it, and so it's a super hard counter, right? And so you get balance issues there. But also the other thing with boss is like it would probably make Shadow Rider pretty broken if there was no boss because they could build up their energy by pivoting Shadow Riders around. I just think boss isn't the right Gus to have. Like Toy Catcher is probably good, so that if you hit a VMAX hard enough or set it up, then you can bring it back up, and then
you have to Cheryl it, or it's gonna sit there with 20 HP left.
Yeah, exactly. And so we'll have to see, like without the Dene, if it still is like problematic. But I think I'd ban boss. Yeah.
I think the one reason I couldn't ban boss is Lily's Pokédoll. And just like suddenly control becomes I think literally unbeatable. Because like Munchlax is going to get you back a doll every other turn. You have 4 dolls to deal with, so you're going to be able to get back dolls pretty consistently. And then you can always just play like an Excadrill and shove some dolls back in the deck, and then you just kind of keep going. And
Excadrill's fine. Everyone can beat Excadrill easily.
Well, not if there was no boss and you had Pokédolls.
But I don't think the control would actually be good without with no boss because they can't. Well, people would play more rope, which is like fine, or Fiona, but they can't. They can't boss stall stuff.
True,
and that's like their win con. So
even if you have seemingly infinite dolls, well, I guess not infinite. You would have 4 prizes probably of dolls,
but also like
16. You have about 20 dolls.
Well, if you play the Ping and Teleon, you can leave it on the bench and KO them, and then make them bring it back, and that's the turn bringing back dolls.
True.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now
I mean,
strike.
maybe Excadrill would be a little bit broken. I don't know, but I think that's a problem that you could fix in other ways in decks, and you could find a way to beat it because control's not unbeatable. Like especially the doll version, you could easily beat by playing alternate things, like I guess like rope or bench sniping stuff. Like there's plenty of ways to do it.
There's regular catcher. I know I've been playing a little control myself in Legacy.
That would be the only problem with banning boss. Actually, you'd have to get flip catcher gone as well.
Yeah. Henry, what did you just do to the format?
I don't know, but yeah, I think that's what would you guys ban?
Dedenne.
Marnie, get it out of here.
Marnie, yeah. Dedenne, yeah. Well,
I'm thinking to the future. I'm a
Marnie's a close second. Well, maybe not a second, but it's a problem as well.
It just needs a replacement.
I think post.
The same with boss.
Yeah.
Same with boss. They just need a replacement. I don't think they need strict bans per se.
Yeah, I just really don't like boss. At least not in its prevalency at the moment.
A gentle rethinking.
Yeah,
and maybe they can ban it and then go ahead and print a new card and never give it to us, which seems to be the MO.
Yeah,
bring it back to the Grant rant.
Henry, where can the people find you at if they want more Benry TCG in their life?
The people can find me at twitch.tv Benry_TCG, which I feel like is the 9th time we've plugged that this this podcast, you can find me on Twitter at BenryBrand. Yeah, you can just like absorb all of that. I stream 2 to 3 times a week at the moment, so get around that. May increase, may decrease, who knows? No pressure here. If you want coaching or if you want to ask me a random question that, you know, something bizarre, then go for it. You can message me on Twitter. Yeah, that'll do it.
Grant, where can the people find you? If they somehow haven't already gone to you.
Yeah. I don't need your follows or anything, but it's real book, OCIC, one word, no underscore on the Twitter. Again, I'm not a simp for anyone, but if you can catch a BenryBrand stream, it's definitely worth it. It's really entertaining. Teaches you how to build a deck and also really good about what you need to do in between turns. And again, not a simp, but a huge fan of BenryBrand, world champ.
Thank you, Boo.
Reigning world champ. And then also, still.
Actually, I will say I'm gonna have lunch after this and then stream. Actually, so
let's go.
If anyone wants to tune in about probably half an hour to an hour, then I'll be on.
There we go. Stream tonight. Maybe might have to raid into that. Thanks for coming on, Henry.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
Been fun.
And of course, you can find me, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube at Mellow_Magikarp. This has been another episode of the Lake of Rage podcast. We'll catch you all next week.